Yo, it's your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, back at you with a video. Today is Wednesday, January 18th, 2023, with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can, Cash App, $ ORION NWSF, or the YouTube Super Chat right here. So it's Wednesday, so I got AEW Dynamite, the East Coast feed. I haven't watched the whole show. It looks like I missed the Young Bucks in their matchup earlier against Top Flight, so I'll have to catch the West Coast replay. That'll be in about maybe about an hour and a half, but I figured we'd go over the NFL divisional playoffs and the matchups like we did yesterday. We'll go over a little bit of food, sports headlines, mental health, and anything else that anyone else wants to go over. But I got about 30 minutes left. 29 minutes, 30 minutes left of AEW Dynamite live from the Midwest and the East Coast feed. So I figured I'd turn that on. And then I got on NFL Network. I got the Viking matchup. I think it's the Viking game against the Giants. They're showing a replay of that. And we'll just freestyle and just, if anyone's going through any kind of mental health type things, any kind of photos that I can do to kind of make things a little bit better as we're transitioning closer into the weekend. And we only have a couple days until we get to football. It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday night. It's going to be Thursday before you know it. Then boom, Thursday, Friday. And then we got 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday. And like I said, we got a little bit of wrestling in between to kind of keep us going, especially if you're not really into the NBA or in college hoops. And like I said, hopefully we can end up getting a decent crowd just to kind of come out and chill, and then we'll kind of go from there. Sarah in the building. Let's get to 100 and donos. And like I said, I was going to start around, like that 6 o'clock period at that time, but I figured, I had to make sure I ended up going to the store. It's like, when you have your routine, like if you don't have your energy drink or you don't have your coffee in the morning, how the rest of your day kind of feels off. Or if you like forget your lunch and you have to go, like you already had something planned that you were already pre-packed, and then you just like go to McDonald's. It just, I don't know. It just, things go off if you don't have a routine. So I figured it'd be a little bit better for me to stay later and get everything at the, grocery store, get the milk, get the pickles, get all the little things, snacks and whatnot after the stream. And I have to make sure I have my Gatorade and the Snapples and whatnot so I can throw those in the fridge and the freezer. So, but I got back in time. I got AEW on right now. I'm actually going to turn it up so I can actually watch here the last 30 minutes. And then, like I said, this is pretty much, open for anybody today. Anything that you guys want to go over. And then when we get more people to come through, if we can get people to share it on obviously the Twitter timeline, that'll help as well. I was going to throw up another like update, like I'm going to be live in 5 or 10 minutes and whatnot. But I figured at this point, I'd rather just go live and then we'll just, we'll wait for the people to show up. They know I have pretty much, grind it out almost every day. It's just a matter if they're working or if they want to come through. But, oh, yeah. And like I said, everyone in the house here likes it. So it's like they go pretty quick. Like I can buy a big jar, and normally a jar would last a normal family probably like a week or two. You know what I mean? But here, a pickles could definitely be gone within like a day or two. Like, because there's 3 of us in here that are going to eat them. So, and it's not like I'm going to, have one usually every day. But I mean, sometimes I'll get in a mode where I'll have 1 or 2. And, you're just trying to look for something other than like chips all the time. Something as an alternative and whatnot. But overall, like I said, I figured those would be the good things to talk about. NFL, anything Sarah wants to talk about, wrestling wise, sports headline wise. I think it was kind of a slower day today. We didn't really have a lot of back and forth conversation, not really a whole lot, besides, more information about Briscoe and then the car accident where he died. AEW Dynamite was the biggest thing really for today as far as like news and whatnot. Top Flight versus the Young Bucks. I assume that was the first match of the night. Like I said, if I'm planning the show and that's not the main event, which it's not, then I would have made that the first match. So I don't know if that's how it played out, but my ESP tells me that chances are that's what happened. So I'll have to catch the replay at like 8 o'clock, and then I'll rewatch Dynamite all over again. But I'll watch it on the TV instead of the computer here. We got Ruby Soho coming out. God, they put on a crazy match. Was it last week? Where they ended up having Ruby Soho, a partner, and then who else did they have? They had Ty Mello, Guevara, and Anna Jay, and they were getting all like bloodied up and weapons and thumbtacks. I mean, that's hardcore. I mean, I know some people in the wrestling fandom don't give a crap about that. But I think it's awesome when you get those type of matches. On top of that, when you get gutsy females that, a lot of them don't want to do those type of matches because you're going to bleed, you're going to hurt, and there's going to be a hell of a lot more pain. But, there's just certain people that, they love that shit, and they're going to put their bodies on the line for the respect of the fans. And I thought it was pretty sweet. I know some people, aren't into that, but I don't really care if it's, guys or girls. I think it's more impressive when the girls do it too, regardless if it's like, a Sasha Banks, or someone like a Dr. Britt Baker or wherever, whatever federation that we're talking about. But I definitely have a little bit more vibe and connection to AEW. More of the wrestlers that I enjoy watching today are on Dynamite and Rampage. It's just, I like some of the old school guys, obviously like Jericho, but I just find myself liking like Darby Allin matches and Jungle Boy matches more than some of the mid-level matches on WWE. Like I rewatched Monday Night Raw replay today, and they got the Usos, and that's going to be a draw, Roman Reigns. But how many times can you see the ones? I mean, Sami Zayn's great on the mic and all that, but after a while, it kind of gets a little dull. At least to me, I like Seth Rollins, I like Kevin Owens, I like AJ Styles, but sometimes even with those guys being my favorites, it's still not enough sometimes. I find myself like finding WWE Raw and SmackDown watchable, but not must-see TV. I feel some of the matches, it's still a lot better before when Vince was running it. Triple H has actually done a pretty damn good job, but NXT is fucking unwatchable. I don't care what anyone says. I don't know anyone that watches that shit all the way through. Even hardcore fans, it's not the same brand with like Undisputed Era where it was the black and the gold. That's when it was even better than SmackDown and Raw. I can't watch it. I still record it every week, but I find myself, kind of fast forwarding, and I don't really go through the whole thing. Now, do I watch a majority of Raw and SmackDown? Yes. Dynamite and Rampage? Yes. And yes, I know AEW, after Triple H took over, they got really hot for about a month. And then AEW, when they were doing really well, when WWE was struggling for about 2 or 3 years, then they started having they hit the window. Some of their guys got hurt. Some of their big guys were off TV. And then I feel that WWE was catching up. But now I think at this point, more of the guys are back, except for CM Punk. But it just seems like, I know sometimes to WWE fans, when they see these guys like Jungle Boy or Darby, they're in their heads, they're like, who are these fucking jobbers? I'm gonna watch someone else that I actually know. But if you actually watch the matches and you don't really take in consideration like their names and who they are, like you're actually just watching the moves that are done and how the matches are played out. Even lower name or mid-level wrestlers in AEW, to me, are putting on better matches than even some of the top guys on WWE. Now, I do like Judgment Day. As far as like all the factions and everything that they got going on, I understand they got the ones and the bloodline, but it's good. But I feel like it's, God, we've seen it for like 2-3 years. Roman broke the record for like longest tenure where he's been the champion for like 3 years straight. Like, I don't know. I get it, like, being dominant, but he's had a longer run as champion than any other champion in the last, I think, 3 decades is what I think I saw. And I get it if you want to make Roman like the Hulk Hogan, and you want to use that as like the face of wrestling, moving on from John Cena and whatnot. I get it. But I think most wrestling fans are feeling that it's kind of getting stale. But at least there's other factions and other things that are around, like Judgment Day, where I think in the beginning with Dom, like it kind of looked like it wasn't going to fit and he was trying too hard. But now with Ripley, and Damian Priest and Finn Balor, it's a nice cohesive faction. And Dominic, it doesn't really feel like he's forcing it anymore. He's just letting his creativity and his wittiness and trying to be funny and serious when he needs to be. And I feel that, Dom was kind of like, I don't know. It was kind of like that, it just didn't seem right. You know what I mean? Like, it just seemed a little off. But as I've been watching and seen him progress, I think that's one bright side that they got going on, besides obviously Bray Wyatt coming back to WWE. But I thought I was been pretty impressed with Dominic. Like, I feel like they needed to find him because he wasn't going to be able to make it on his own, being Rey Mysterio's son in a single competition. He needed to be in a tag team, or he needed to be in a faction. And to be in a faction with Damian Priest and Finn Balor, and even though he came across more like hip hop, and then now he's like more emo and dark and kind of like Ripley and one. I like it, man. And I think like those blend of 4, even though at first when I was like, I think Edge was good, having Finn run it over Edge was smart. So it's kind of cool how they brought that up. And I think that's one thing that to me that WWE has gotten right. And every time I see Judgment Day on, regardless on whoever they're feuding with, it's fun. It's like, you're going to see cheating, you're going to see people running in, you're going to see people helping people outside the ring, and it's a nice cohesive unit. And the cool thing is Ripley's probably the toughest SOB as a female in any federation that's out right now. Like if you're looking at overall toughness out of any wrestler, I would probably say based off physical stature and just real toughness. I mean, Ripley kind of is like she wrestles like she can wrestle dudes. She's almost like the modern day China, but she's a lot more athletic than China. And I kind of like that persona for her as well. You don't have to have the blonde hair and the blue eyes and the that type of figure like a model to be popular. Yeah, of course, there's going to be people, guys and girls that like the Mandy Rose thing. But for me, if you're just like a face or but you're not really very good in the ring or maybe not very good on the mic. And Mandy has gotten better over the years, but she still was never really awesome. But as being champion, you gain confidence and you have more promos, and she's gotten better. But I like being able to see the wrestlers that really don't fit the prototypical standard. And I know with you, Sarah, also, you like the guys that are kind of mid-level and smaller, like, the Bryan Danielsons, the Seth Rollins, over the bigger guys. Except the one bigger guy that I like that I think most people like as well as Drew McIntyre. Like I'll take Drew over Roman any day. I think he's better on the mic. I like his persona, and sometimes he gets buried. And he had his championship, but obviously it was during COVID, so he didn't really get to hear the crowd roar and really feel the passion and everything. But yeah, I love me some Drew, and I know you're kind of the same way too. But so what do we got here on AEW? It looks like we're getting closer. We got about 18 minutes left, so we're down to maybe the last one or two matches. And then again, and then hopefully we'll get a few people coming in, and then again we'll talk AEW. We'll go over, like I said, it pretty much this is going to be for you guys, whatever you guys want. If you want me to change a background to something more, something more nature related, we can go that route. I let pretty much everyone, kind of go through. And like when we're doing a game, then obviously I'll do the game, like a live play-by-play reaction. But when we have these streams that are kind of like in between the week, it's just a nice time for us to hang out, and hopefully we'll get some people coming through within the first hour, and that'll gain a little bit of momentum, and we'll go from there. So, anything in the news while we're waiting for people to kind of come through? Anything in the news yet? Oh, this must be the main event. We're 17 minutes away, and we got Darby coming out. I think this is the main event. Yeah, Darby I like, and Jungle Boy for two different reasons. Obviously, Jungle Boy with his dad passing away, and having that type of passion, and Darby is just that Northwest crazy ass, reckless, just throwing his body around left and right, and what a better pairing than having an older aging Sting. And yeah, we know Sting is old as shit. He's like 50, 60, 70 years old. It don't matter. When you're a name like that, Undertaker or Sting, when you're like part of a brand, people are still they may not want to see you wrestle anymore, but just having you ringside or a part of the show still to me is kind of cool. So the only aging vet that I think nobody wants to see is Goldberg. I think we've all come to that. So Raheem Morris. See, the thing that I worry about with the Colts is if they go for an OC or a DC, that it's not going to work out. Like you're just going to get a guy just like how I did and the Saints did, where you get a guy that comes in that's really good at being a defensive coordinator or an offensive coordinator, and then they just can't cut it as leadership as a coach. But I think you agree, I agree, Pat McAfee agrees, and most people that know football, I think the C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young is pretty much like if they pick anybody besides those two, that would be a travesty. And like I said, I think most people are like thinking CJ would be the better fit. But I mean, if Bryce falls in your lap, you're not going to complain. You're going to be fucking excited with either one. So, all right, Darby, what's Sting? And hopefully we'll, like I said, we'll go for. We'll kind of see. Hopefully we'll get some people to come through, and then we'll go probably 3 hours, see where we're at, and then hopefully if we are at a good number, we can end it around that 3 hour 30-minute mark. If not, maybe 4. But Anything in the news or anything that you want to go over? I got the Giants and the Vikings on right now on the NFL. And so once this main event is over, then I'll just turn it off on the computer and then we'll go from there. Yeah, I like D'Amico Ryans. I mean, I think D'Amico has been qualified for, and I mean, all these guys are guys that could do a good job of being a coordinator. But how much do we really think that they would be great at head coach? Like I think of Dan Quinn as head coach, and then he's calling the defense. It might be too much. Like you know what I'm saying? I think he might be the most qualified out of those three. Like if I was as far as like who you would want, with your team, like I think Dan and D'Amico would be definitely the front runners. Raheem would be a guy, I guess, if everyone else said no. But I don't think I'm not really sure if any of those guys, even as great as Dan Quinn is as the number one defensive coordinator in the league, I just don't know how he would be as a head coach. He could struggle, there, especially if he's going to be head coach and still do the defensive calling plays. I mean, he definitely understands what it's like to be a coach, so I get it. But I don't know. I just some of the coaches kind of some of the coaches have head coaching experience, some do not. Some are better at coordinators, some are better at head coach. It's just, it just depends on how you end up, doing those roles. So, yeah, D'Amico Ryans, yeah. But as a coordinator, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of a ballsy move for someone that's never been a head coach, and you're bringing in, a brand new quarterback, maybe a rookie quarterback. So it's like, you're going to need a quarterback guru, type coach, which would be beneficial for Stroud, or Bryce Young, unless you ended up bringing in a defensive guy, like a Dan Quinn if you did that, or like a D'Amico Ryans, you're bringing in a guy that is more defensive oriented. But I mean, I think the offense, once you get the quarterback, it'll flow. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens for sure. Trying to look to see if there's anything news related. Cyberpunk sent me a link, on the Dwight Smith talking about how he thinks the NFL is rigged. All right, I think I want to. Let's see here. I think I want to change. We're gonna leave the studio. I need something a little bit better for the mental health. Mental health actually has been pretty good. Like I said, I had that rough spot for about 5 days, 4 or 5 days, where I didn't record. We ended up breaking the record when I was like maybe 1 or 2 days in. And God bless Shepard, with the $1,300 dono, and we got to 1527 with less than 20 people in the room. I think we only had like 10 or 15, which is pretty fucking incredible. Yeah, but definitely got to be able to set myself up here for a nice background. I like the one that we used yesterday, but I'll wait a few days before we use this one again. And then I had like a nice baseball card one, and I got some more winter ones to do. But I think I want to probably go here or here. Something that makes me feel a little bit better. I think we're gonna go here. This one's always good, and I can always move on from that one. You think D'Amico's your top choice? Oh, Darby, high risk. Did you watch all AEW from the very beginning or no? Oh yeah. There you go. And like I said, you can, it just depends on, your time and your job and what you want to do. Like I said, it's like you can get things done any dream or any goal, things can get completed and done, but it's all about being consistent and persistent, believing in yourself, and like with me, it's like I see a lot of these other people that are always complaining like why things aren't happening for them, but it's like, are you willing to work as hard as the people that you see that are working hard, that are having success? It's not like I grinded for 6 months and then I'm full time for the rest of my life. Like this has been such a long like mission, and I'm nowhere even near the end result. So, but yeah, I think that would be something good. And obviously mental health, sometimes we go through the ups and downs, but I always feel like this is always a good safe place where if people are feeling like shit, I can throw up some good photos of whatever they like and we can kind of go from there and make things better. And then I was thinking also too, and when we have these like kind of slower days throughout the week, we can always do stuff at some point when we have people in the room where we can end up doing like a theme, like 1980s, 1990s, and kind of things that we remember, from the food to the toys to the movies to the music, sports. And, we can throw up photos of those things, based off the era and who's in the room. So I was thinking, I'm trying to think of like other things that we can do. Of course, when there's games on, I mean, I'm not going to do too many NBA or college hoops games. More March Madness, maybe watch party type thing. Maybe do the championship and whatnot. But I mean, the one thing that I'm really looking forward to besides these playoffs, and obviously with college football already being over, is going to be NASCAR and MLB. I mean, those are the two things that right now I'm the most excited for, and we're going to get NASCAR first, and then it'll transition into MLB, and then I'll be really excited at that point. Even with football over, then I get two things that I actually love, like football and wrestling, that will take over for college football and NFL being over. I'm not going to be like one of those people that only watches NFL and that's it, and they're just straight miserable, for like 7 months or 8 months after, because they're just waiting for the NFL to come back. So. Yeah, but I thought that would be something kind of cool because I mean we do have a lot of people that are older. Half of the audience is 40 to 90, and then the rest of the audience is usually 10 to 40, but it typically is probably like 18 to 40, and then 40 and up. So it just kind of depends on if it's the younger crowd or the older crowd. But especially if you're 35 and up, doing stuff like the 80s or the 90s, I think that would be kind of cool because then it really brings up anything that we like. So it's like 80s movies, 90s movies, the athletes that we liked at that time, the music that we like. So it's pretty much limitless at that point. And it'll just be kind of filler content. But I'm always trying to think outside the box on what I can use the pictures to with HD and 4K. And then not only will it help us with mental health, but like I said, I love being able to go back and relive the 80s and 90s. And that's why I always watch programming every day, usually cartoons from the 80s and the 90s, to give myself a boost. I can watch The Simpsons and The King of the Hill, but I always find myself doing Transformers. Like I did Transformers this morning, and I did Ninja Turtles 1987, Turtle Tracks, the first episode, season 1, episode 1, and then I did a bunch of G.I. Joe. And the cool thing is the Hasbro channel has G.I. Joe running 24 hours a day. So you just get bored, boom, you go to the Hasbro channel, you click the little TV icon, you can stream it onto your TV from your phone, and then boom, you got to, click like skip ad a little bit, once or twice through a 30-minute episode, but who cares? Then I get 1985 G.I. Joe episodes continuing to run until I want to change it. It's awesome, and then I can also still scroll with my phone. I can minimize it, and I can still go to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I can go to my articles in the NFL app while it's still projecting on the TV. It's fucking sweet. And like I said, if you do things like that, I'm telling you, if you haven't done it in a long time, you'll be really surprised, if you end up doing something like that. Also with me, like going through some of my collectibles and my toy collection, that always can bring me around, like, going to the beach, going to the water, getting away, like a little mini vacay. But, just being surrounded about stuff that I love. And, one of these days I'll have to bring in one of the boxes in here and we'll open it up together and kind of go over what I have in there. But I went through about 5 or 6 a couple days ago, and I don't know if I've ever been as happy as I've been because some of the stuff I don't even remember, because a lot of this is handpicked from me from the 80s till now. And I've slowed down in the collecting in the last couple years, but I still find myself, grabbing Julio and Aaron Judge. I'm still going to be grabbing stuff, from time to time. It's just maybe not as much money is spent as I did before, but, This main event looks like it's almost wrapped up. We got about 5 minutes left, but yeah. And like I said, I just think with COVID and everything that's going on, and even with myself going through like these tough times, like when I tell people my shit is, my mentals, if they're not good, it's not like I'm pretending or lying about it. It's like, think about, most people, if they ended up getting a record breaking dono, no matter what depression you're in, you're like, well, maybe you're cured, but even with the record breaking donos, if you're mentally kind of, you're in a dark place, it still takes a couple days to get out of there. Sometimes it even takes a couple weeks, but at least I know like what I need to do to put myself back on track. I'm continuing to exercise, continuing to walk an hour or two a day with Paisley, making sure I'm spending time with her, making sure I'm watching, those old school programs or Alaska programs that have water or snow, stuff that's going to make me feel good. So, but yeah, but overall, last couple days have actually been pretty good. And we got about 4 minutes left until this AEW is over. Then I'll turn this off and then I'll transition into turning this football game on the volume on NFL Network, the Vikings and the Giants replay, or maybe I'll watch a little NBA. You never know. There you go, and that's a big thing. There, you got some old school Degrassi. There you go. Yeah, and you just never know, like, because I think a lot of people, like, when they just watch the new stuff, that's fine and all, like Netflix and Hulu and stuff like that. But I think it's always good. Um, it's always good to be able to go back and watch some of the older stuff or some of your favorite TV shows and movies and whatnot. So the new one that I want to watch, The Last of Us, like the video game. I haven't played the video game. I've always seen clips. I get really jealous of my friends that play games because that's something, as a kid and as a young adult, I did a shitload of where I would play probably about 4 or 5 hours a day. And that was before I had the YouTube channel, of course, and whatnot. But it's based off the video game, and I know that it's got the most ratings and views besides the Game of Thrones spinoff in the last 10 years. So I was planning on trying to maybe watch that at some point, today or tomorrow. Cowboys owner with a 225 million super yacht. Must be nice to be that rich, right? Must be nice to be. Like I said, if I ever was like that rich, that's just think about how many people you can help. But of course, when you're rich, you're rich because you don't really help people out. You just keep, making money, and you're very frugal and fickle with the money. But I know if I had that money, gosh, $225 million yacht. Is that, like, talk about excessive? But I guess if you're worth billions of dollars, that's like pocket change to him. So yeah, that's a good thriller. That's definitely a good thriller. Yeah, I'm always going to give recommendations on stuff, and like, if you've heard of the video game, but anything that's like post-apocalyptic, or it's like zombies, or that you have to be able to fend for yourself, it's always going to be a cool topic because we kind of feel maybe at some point something like that may happen in our lifetime or a little bit after our lifetime. Something, natural disasters or something. We don't know. Some people think alien stuff or shortage of stuff with the food or gas. There's all kinds of theories on how things can happen, but I haven't watched anything on it. But I'm very particular on the shows that I want to get into. But that's definitely on the list, and from anyone and everyone that I've heard of, that's like a must watch. So if you guys are looking for something new, and you're like, okay, what do I look at? I'm looking at one thing. Like, my time is very precious. I don't got a lot of time, but if you got time for one new thing on Netflix or Hulu, that's the one. That's what I would recommend. And I imagine as soon as I end up watching it, and then one of the main characters, the Pedro Pascal, he ends up playing the villain in the second Wonder Woman. So if you remember Wonder Woman with Gal Gadot, right? Gal Gadot, and then she goes against that kind of Latino guy, and he ends up being the villain, and he ends up being like, I'm not sure if you guys have seen the Wonder Woman 2. It's been on TV the last couple weeks, like on TNT or TBS. I've seen both. But that's one of the characters that I saw. So I was like, ooh, okay. I was like, all right, I'm not going to know every name that's in there, but I looked at the list. Anytime before I start a new show, Pedro Pascal, Bella Ramsey, Nick Offerman, Gabriel Luna, Neil Druckmann, Craig Mazin, Rose Lamb, and Jacqueline Lesko is the producer as Rose Lamb, and there's a couple of the creators, but the main ones are Pedro, Bella, Nick, and Gabriel. But obviously, there's going to be others there. But yeah, but most of the ratings are like 9.4 out of 10, 9.5. But the ratings, and obviously, you can, if you listen only to like Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb, then, sometimes the people on there will be jaded, and they'll just be haters towards a certain thing. But most people, if they see something good, like a Dexter or a Game of Thrones or Stranger Things, it's really hard to say that sucks when it doesn't. It may not be for you, but when like millions of people are watching, right, it's probably not a shitty program. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've never understood where you've had certain. I mean, I get it if you just think the dragon thing is silly in the Game of Thrones, but if you're not watching it just because you think the dragons and the stuff is silly, then you obviously have never watched a show based off like the brutal killing and all the other conspiracy shit that's going on in that. And plus, Peter Dinklage might be one of the best modern day actors that we've ever had. That particular character, right? Peter Dinklage, that might have been one of the best characters in any show that we've seen in the last 20 or 30 years. There's definitely there's a lot of shows out there that got really good leads or good supporting cast, but yeah, I mean, that's the type of show. And obviously with Dexter, I haven't even seen the new updated Dexter. Like, remember when they had the original Dexter and then they ended it, right? And then he was like a lumberjack in Oregon, right? And then they started up a new one. I think it was like a year or two ago. I never watched it. I think it's on Showtime or something, but I'm not sure if we have Showtime. But I want to watch those like 5 or 10 episodes of the rebooted Dexter. That's another thing that's on the list, but I haven't had really a chance to do it. So, all right, I turned that off. And now I got the Vikings and Giants on. So I'm going to do a little prep here watching that. Ooh, they got Blue Jays and Rangers on MLB Network. Nolan Ryan's 7th no-hitter from May 1st, 91. I might watch this. I mean, I've already watched the football game, and if I can watch some old school baseball, hell yeah. Okay. Nolan Ryan. Well, I mean, it already kind of 7th no-hitter, so we already know that the Rangers are beating the brakes off the Blue Jays, and that was towards their World Series run in the early 90s. All right, so that sounds kind of intriguing. All right, what else do I got? What's on NBA basketball? T-Wolves and Nuggets. I'd rather probably watch the baseball or the football. I mean, I know the T-Wolves and they got some players there, but they got an Iowa basketball classic too on. All right, so I'll bounce back and forth from the football game, Giants and Vikings, and I want to watch Nolan Ryan from 91. Anything 91, then they'll have like Joe Carter out there and some of those other players. Maybe John Olerud. I got to see, because obviously he spent time with the Blue Jays and the Mariners, so I have to look at that too. So, oh, that's another one, but it's not out yet. But obviously with the preview, they just dropped it a couple days ago. Yeah, phenomenal. I've always loved that. I thought the narrator and the person that they picked to do The Mandalorian was perfect, and oh my God, it's going to be amazing. Anything, well, you're a Star Wars fanatic like me, so, and just like my girlfriend and a lot of my friends here in Oregon, I mean, and I collect the toys, and I mean, I watch so many of the different, things, cartoons and movies and the little offshoot projects. So pretty much if it's got the Star Wars label to it, I know Jameson, he likes the old stuff, not the new stuff. But for me, and I think Megan and other people, I appreciate, what it is. And you understand what it is with George Lucas and, when it went to Disney, right? But I don't personally get jaded for the fact that he sold it and Disney took it in their own direction. The chances of him, he could have just been private and just kept the whole library himself and kept making movies. But, at some point you probably get tired, and, you already have enough money, and that takes a lot of money and a lot of effort. And he's got standards and, maybe didn't want to, do it anymore, which is, kind of understandable and whatnot. But I know a lot of people, the George Lucas stuff with like the first 6, like in the 80s and 90s, and then you go anything after that, there's a lot of criticism. I honestly think that the newer stuff isn't as bad as people make it to be. The people, I mean, of course, if you're, the Harrison Ford and, going back with, Princess Leia, or going into young Anakin and Natalie Portman, whether you're the 80s baby or you're the 90s, with the pod racing, which is one of the coolest ones as well. So, I mean, every generation has its own kind of uniqueness to it. But yeah, I'm so into the Mandalorian, and it's going to be awesome. And that'll be something as soon as it's on, boom, I'm watching it, phone down, focus. And like I said, there's not many programs to this day where I can put my phone down and I'm actually paying attention 100%. Because a lot of times what we do is we're on our laptop or we're on our phones and we're watching something, but we're only giving it about 90% focus. So if there's something, like, subtitles or something that's going on where you might miss it, those type of shows, you can't have your phone on. Otherwise you're going to miss stuff. So. Yeah, but that's Paul Allen, though. We're talking about Jerry Jones. Yeah, a little different. Plus, Jerry's I think might be one of the biggest ever. I mean, Jerry's boat is ridiculous. 225 million. I imagine Paul had one, but it probably wasn't 225 million. It probably wasn't, because obviously Jerry's going to go in Jerry's world. You know what I mean? But a lot of those guys that are millionaires, billionaires, they love that stuff. You just have to be able to have a connection with the characters. And, and like I said, maybe it's, the connection wasn't the same based off like, America and how things were here, like, the 1980s, you know what I mean? Or based on how things were in Australia. It's all about, seeing the connection with the stores, the toys, the clothes. And I think, it's that kind of phenomenon. And then also with the younger crowd, they got into it based off the actors and actresses and, Millie Bobby Brown and everyone else. And because like I said, when you get people that are young, a lot of people don't think they're going to be very good at acting. But I think that was one of the shows where you could see them progress and get older, and they were getting better and better in their skill set. So it wasn't. Yeah, I wouldn't assume it wasn't as good. And they originally stopped producing the show early on because the lead guy got sick. Dexter got sick, and I think he had like some form of cancer or some type of sickness. So they had to stop producing. And then there was like, a year pass, and then 4 years, and then 5 years. And then eventually they talked about, doing like a reboot. But if they were able to do the reboot sooner, then I think it would have been a little bit more relevant and maybe a little bit better. But yeah, I'm still going to end up watching it though. Yeah. And like I said, sometimes we have a connection with the characters and sometimes we don't. And that's, I have to go through that. And like I said, when you have one that's like an offshoot one like that, it's like if you can't gravitate towards characters, then sometimes it's harder to be able to really enjoy it all the way through, or you have to rewatch it again. So let's do it. And then, like I said, hopefully we'll get a few more people coming through since we'll be grinding it out for the next few hours or so. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But I mean, like I said, I think that's a majority, I think, of the people that are like in their, 30s, 40-year-old, like around that range. Because if you grew up in the 80s and 90s, when you actually look at like when they go to the mall and you look at their clothes and the styles, the toys and the references that they talk about, it's a lot of like 80s nostalgia. So it's like if you grew up watching like Goonies and like Top Gun, and that was like a part of your life, with all those 80s movies like back then you have that deeper connection to the show compared to the younger crowd that has no idea about the connection of those type of things. They're just watching it based on it being a popular show and, kind of feeding into the popularity bandwagon. But I feel like the people that are older, we knew it was going to be, pretty good. But I feel that most shows that are based off a time period, they usually have certain types of success, kind of like with the 70s show. The 70s show looks a hell of a lot better than the 90s show that they're doing this reboot, but it's all about the characters and, you're being able to fall in love with each one of them on the 70s show. In this 90s show, it doesn't look like it's going to be very good at all to me. Will I end up watching maybe a couple? Yeah, but it doesn't really seem like the characters have that same type of vibe as the original cast. I may be proven wrong, but, it just depends on, certain things in that time period. But 80s stuff, if you're a Goonies type of person and you have those memories of those things in the 80s. I think that's a reason why a lot of the adults kind of transition, into Stranger Things and really enjoyed it. And I can't believe there's only going to be one more season, but it is what it is. Yeah, 80s and 90s. It was a good time. All right, let me go back to that baseball game. 24-21 Giants. So for the newer stuff, why can't you guys get into it? They don't have the same iconic characters like the Obi-Wan and like Chewbacca and stuff, or like R2-D2. It's like the characters, it just doesn't, you just can't get into it. You can't get into the new storyline. Is it that, or is it just the fact that George Lucas isn't doing it and it's Disney? Or is it because of that? I know people have all their reasonings on why they like it and why they don't. So I don't know. With me, I'm a toy collector, so I'm never going to stop collecting Star Wars. So, I mean, stuff from the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010, and then current, it's not like they're never going to stop making the toys. Star Wars is like fucking Lego. It's going to go on forever. It's like one of those franchises that no matter how many new projects they come out with, they're always going to be able to sell their merch, based off their history and their fanatic fan base. That's facts. Yeah, but I definitely want to play the video game, but the Last of Us season 1, episode 1, definitely want to watch that. All right, this baseball replay is taking forever, but I do want to watch Nolan Ryan.
Cool. Yep, even easier than that. And with no fees or minimums on checking and saving.
Wish we could have football like tomorrow, but it's got to wait a little bit longer. All right, so when this game is over, then we got Total Access. And then after Total Access, then it's Cowboys Bucks. No, I don't want to watch that. We already know what happened there. I was hoping that was going to be something better, but I was wrong. Nothing better after. But at that point, I'll be watching AEW, so I'll be watching that on the TV from the beginning. All right, I guess it's Giants Vikings fourth quarter replay for now. So. Yeah, I think that might be the single one in Andor where it's like, where they're doing so many of these offshoot type projects, and it also too, it's like when they introduce Rey, a lot of people can connect with Rey and the character, and you just have to have someone that, you are drawn to based off their acting or their athleticism or, something that happens in the shows or the movies. But yeah, like I said, I haven't really watched a lot of Andor, honestly. I mean, I'm very pressed for time on what I can, but no, but I get it though. I mean, sometimes that's what it is. You gotta be able to have the connection, But I agree. I mean, some of these newer projects, it might be harder to, have that connection. It's also like when you have Marvel movies, when they try to do all these little side shoot Marvel movies or DC, sometimes we're gonna watch them, but then there's others like I don't know if you guys watch Black Adam. I haven't watched it. The preview looked actually halfway decent. I know some people liked it, some people didn't like it. Some people like The Rock, some people don't. But there's always going to be like these movies off to the side. Also like Black Panther 2. I haven't seen that, which I definitely want to see, but not having Chadwick Boseman in it. It's like Black Panther, I feel, was probably the most successful offshoot, movie as far as a smaller character that they're ever going to have, because they had, like Kendrick Lamar, like The Weeknd, you had great music soundtrack. Chadwick Boseman was fucking amazing. The storyline was great. The movie was great. And as far as like all the other Marvel movies, the only other ones that come up to par, like to me, are like Iron Man or like the Avenger movies. Like, there's Captain America and the Hulk and these other ones. But I think Black Panther, to me, as far as entertainment value and being able to watch it more than a couple times, I feel it's one of the top 5 Marvel movies with all the Avengers and all the different characters. I thought it was very, very well put together. I don't know how good the second one is. I assume second one will be pretty good, but when, fuck cancer, when Chadwick Boseman, I mean, imagine if Chadwick Boseman didn't pass away, right? That movie would have been big, like big if he didn't pass away. I mean, it would have been like right up there, with, and like I said, just for that type of character too, and actually having, the other superheroes of different race and different color. They did a great job with that movie. And like I said, I just wish Chadwick Boseman didn't pass away, because then I think that the Black Panther 2 would have been so much bigger. There would have been way more promotion on that, and I think they would have, probably not been able to match number 1, but I think it probably would have ended up turning out better than what we have in 2. But I haven't really heard a lot of people say bad things about Black Panther 2, but I don't know how many people have actually seen it either. So, yes, the Darth Maul and the Vader.
Then I got the text come. I just glanced at my phone and here's my glucose number. Wow.
My A1C's dropped over 2.
What they did to Luke?
That's a huge victory.
That damaged it. So as far as like your fandom, do you not really like Star Wars? Or you're not like a fanatic anymore? Like you liked it from back in the day, but you're not in the same level with that stuff anymore. Kind of lost interest.
At Denny's, we have the best value all day long, like the everyday value slam for only $5.99. Now you can stack your wins and enjoy the sunny side of craveable value. $5.99 every day, part of the all-day diner deals value menu.
All right, we're about 45 minutes in. Let's start throwing some photos up. You guys have any recommendations or anything that you guys want to see background-wise, or anything that you want me to pull up? Any of your favorites or anything that you've seen story-wise? Like I said, the streams are about you guys. I mean, like I said, it's for my mental health. It's for your guys' mental health. But anytime that we have a stream where it's not a game, or an event, we want to make sure we take advantage of these moments too. So that way we can talk about things that you can't talk about on other channels, whether that be mental health, or if you're going through something, or if you want to, see a particular favorite or something, you're not going to be able to get really photos on other channels of your favorite type of thing. So let's take advantage of that. So if there's anything you guys want to be able to discuss or go over, don't be shy. And again, hopefully we'll get a few more people coming through. We can get a little bit of a dono train going at some point, and hopefully we can end up hitting the goal. So, but I do want to watch AEW from the start. So that'll start for me at 8:00, and then I'll be able to watch that from 8 to 10. And then we'll probably end the stream at like 10 to 10:30. And then I'll probably take Paisley for another hour walk. And then I went for an hour walk today. And so that was good for my mental health. It's raining pretty much all day today, but I caught it in the early afternoon around noon to like 1, where I caught a little bit of just a slight drizzle. It wasn't too bad. And, had the pre-roll with me. Sometimes, it's just nice, to be able to just walk. It's just no one else is around, and the walks that I like to do are the ones at night. Those are the ones that are like 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock. It's late. It's just me and her, and you get your exercise in, get the music. I always have to listen to music as well. And that's definitely good for the mental health. And then obviously that'll help me lose a little bit more weight if I'm going, twice a day, morning and afternoon, instead of just going in the morning or just at night. But I'll tell you, like I said, if you're not exercising and you feel like shit, exercise. I mean, getting that fresh air, because there's no excuse. Fuck, I even go out there in the rain. I know sometimes people aren't that hardcore and they'll go to a gym, but for me out here in the Northwest, we don't do the umbrella thing. We just go out there. If it's pouring down rain, we're not fucking stupid. I'm not going to just go out there. But if it's just like a little drizzle, fuck it. It don't matter. Even Paisley is a trooper. She loves being outside. She wasn't able to go outside for the first couple months of her life because with all the different shots that she needed. But again, she loves it. It doesn't matter how tired she is. It doesn't matter if I look at her and I say, "Hey, you want to go for a walk? You want to go for exercise?" And she'll look at me. Her eyes will get all big and she'll jump up on me and. Because she knows, because obviously she loves to sniff. She loves to be able to, go through the different park area in front of the school, because we walk in front of a school in the walk and inside of like a residential neighborhood. So she likes to be able to kind of go around and, test out different grass. And it's just nice. And like I said, and it's also nice too when we go at night, because there's no one there. So I can listen to E40, Be Legit, Snoop, Too Short, Wiz Khalifa, whatever. I can listen to like West Coast stuff. I can put that in and then walk with her, and we have that nice hour where we just kind of escape from everything. Because usually she gets a little ramped up around 10 o'clock. Like sometimes she'll just, get super bitey and super aggressive, and then they'll have to kick her out of the bedroom and she'll hang out with me. And, sometimes, she'll pass out on the couch, on top of me, if I'm watching TV late or, it just depends on her. But I just know the more exercise that she gets, it's good for her and it's good for me too. So. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can even throw up, other stuff as well if we want to throw up Marvel, Star Wars. I mean, like I said, this show is just to be able to keep things light, keep things in a good spot. A lot of us go through some tough times, so let's take advantage. And like I said, I'm a visual guy, and like I said, the photos are a big part of making things better for us. And let's be able to do that. Sarah with $1. Let's get to a hundo. Let me know what you want to see, but let's get a little Pete Carroll in here. Maybe I can find something new for you. Appreciate you. Bang, bang, boom, boom. Bang, bang. The larger McFoley I'm digging. And I couldn't find the other one, but I think I ended up finding it. Let's see. Hold on. Yeah, we can do some Grogu as well. I mean, I like looking at stuff like that. I mean, of course, I'm a toy cartoon guy, so, I mean.
Super Bowl 57, the NFL's brightest stars will be recognized for the best plays and moments from the 2022 season. Tune into NFL Honors Thursday, February 9th, 9 Eastern on NBC.
Sometimes you got to switch it up, I was actually surprised that this one formatted, because sometimes when they have like the GIFs, if the size dimension is too big, it won't work. It'll be like file too big. And I'm like, hell, I finally found a good one that's not too blurry, that maybe fits the screen a little bit better. And I honestly thought when I got that one yesterday, I was like, there's no way in hell that's going to fit, but it formatted. I was like, wow. So I figured this one doesn't say bang, bang underneath it like the other one with the Cactus Jack, but I just like the fact that it's bigger and it fills the screen and it does the job. So we're good there. All right, so let me get some photos up for y'all, and we can do that. All right, I got to go back to the Nolan Ryan. Anytime I can watch old school 80s and 90s sports, I'm all about that. Even if it's like hockey, if it's like Wayne Gretzky or Mario Lemieux, give me that. Now we got Nolan Ryan, over 40 years old, going for his 7th no-hitter. All right, let's go and look to see what we got. Yeah, but like I said, it doesn't really matter what direction we go. Music, cars, video games, food, whatever. I don't mind. Whatever direction we go to is totally cool with me. I'm not one of those people that, has to have it my way for the whole show, and any recommendation is, not listened to. Of course, if you want to be able to have a good bond with people, you want to be able to see what other people like, what things, and you never know. You might start liking some of those things or have an interest. Finley in the building. What to do? What you going to do when he retires? Well, cry, but what are you going to do after that? I guess just pray that you get someone that is, probably not going to be Pete Carroll, but just, hopefully get somebody that's a good fit for the organization. It's almost kind of weird to think like who is it going to be after? And then also if Schneider is going to be there too, because it might be a package deal, like where one gets let go or fired, and then the next one gets fired a year after, or unless they walk away. But I don't think either one has any plans of walking away or leaving anytime soon. So spend the rest of your life watching old school tape. Yeah. Hey, I still got a VCR. I actually found a lot of my old like VHS stuff that I had recorded and whatnot. So old school like portable DVD players. I still got like one of those that has a screen that flips up from way back in the day. I remember being in like a senior in high school when the portable DVD scene was just first coming out, when they were like $1,000 or more. And I had this kid that was in the back of the class, and he had like, video game controller, and he'd always have some. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? And I sat next to him one time. This motherfucker had a PlayStation in his backpack, flipped up the DVD screen, plugged it in, and the guy was playing like video games like in the back of the classroom, like on a screen that was, I don't know how big the screen was. I mean, it wasn't super big, but it was like, from like a portable, looked like a Discman, but it flipped up and had a big screen on it. I was like, oh shit. And he would watch movies on there. He's like, come over here. And it would be like, whatever, Predator or Terminator. I was like, oh my God, that's like the dopest thing ever. And then I remember like going into like Electronic Fries and other places, but I was like, damn, I don't want to pay $1,000 for this. But I thought the idea was really dope. And this was like the very first like portable DVD players that ever came out on the market. So obviously a lot of them were very, very expensive. And the guy had one of the top of the line ones that was like over $1,000. It's like $1,200 back in the day. But I eventually, a couple years passed, and I got one. And I think I spent like $5 on mine, and I still have mine to this day, and it still works. It is actually kind of dope. It doesn't, the video game port is different than the other guys, but I can watch movies on it, and yeah, it's actually not too bad. The screen is pretty slick. Ooh, Nolan Ryan is ripping it. All right, trying to go through some options here. Yeah, sucks that we got to wait till March, but there's still other shows that I'll be ready to watch, like 911 and Lone Star with Rob Lowe. I'm always looking at just different shows with different scenarios, and I'm not really a hater towards like certain genres. I mean, I watch The Good Doctor, I watch Law and Order, SVU. I watch a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm going to do the cartoon thing and the Alaska shows, and that type of stuff, History, Discovery, Nat Geo. I'll be doing those, and I stay away from sports and I focus on that. But then after that, I mean, there's other programming, sitcoms and other stuff that I like. It just sucks that a lot of the sitcoms nowadays aren't good. Have you noticed that? Like the sitcoms in the 80s and 90s, they had it down to a pat. Like they had it down to a T. Like there were just so many good ones, Step by Step, Family Matters, Home Improvement. Like it didn't really matter. You could find one with, different types of families, Roseanne, like different parts of the country, but it was well written and it was good and you could connect to it. But now it just seems like the comedies are like really forced and it doesn't seem authentic. And it's like sometimes the cast isn't right. And I just think a lot of the sitcoms now are just garbage. It's just like, for me, the only ones that I watch The Neighborhood, where it's got Schmidt from New Girl, and obviously Beth Bayers that was in the other show with the other girl with the cupcake business. So it's got them two, and it's got Cedric the Entertainer. So that one is good. And Pam from Martin from back in the days, and it has Cedric's wife. So that's a good, funny show. And obviously it's like, you got like the nerdy Caucasian family, moving into the hood in California with a bunch of the brothers and sisters on the block. And they're like the only white family on the block or whatever. And then you see Schmidt and him kind of have these funny interactions. And it's been on for a couple years. It's really funny. And it's actually one of the better ones. I like that. And then obviously the Goldbergs on ABC. I like that because that's a lot of 80s references. But since the dad got in a fight with like the producers and they wrote him off and they kind of killed his character, and the show is not the same without Murray. So it's like they have the show still going, but Murray was a big part of the show to me. So I feel like this season's Goldbergs, it kind of fell off a little bit. But that's still like the only other show I think that I continuously watch. But I mean, I used to watch like maybe 8, 9, 10, different types of sitcoms. Now I'm down to like maybe 2 or 3, but it is what it is. Good TV is hard to find. And I think that's why we have so many streaming platforms that we kind of turn to, because there's not a lot of good stuff on the national, just, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, and other channels. So. Are we talking? Who are we talking? Drake, the artist? From are we talking about you want to go see it from the Degrassi days? I can go back. Oh, Ruben Sierra. Ruben Sierra is up. Oh my God, this is awesome. This is crazy. I'm 9 years old in this game. Oh, snap. What do you watch the Degrassi on, sir? Do you watch it on YouTube? Oh, I got you. See, like in this picture, that looks like his when he's first starting to get into his budding rapping career, but then you have to go back where he was like super young. So then you go like there when it's like young version of him. Well, there's not very many Drakes out there, so, and I figured it wasn't Kenyon Drake. I wonder what the people on the show, like if he, obviously there's some people, obviously, they know his career and where he's at, but just to be like, imagine just working with him on the show and now he's who he is today. Pretty remarkable career. I do wish that he would, kind of go back to that hunger, when he first came out with his first couple albums, because I'm a fan. I know I got one of the OVO hoodies that's worth like $800 or whatever, limited edition. It's probably one of the most comfortable piece of clothing that I own from the Hotline Bling video. Just the black hoodie with the, really nice stitching with the gold owl with the OVO in it. But with him, it's like I think a lot of the music that he's come out, and it happens to most of the artists, when they're trying to break through, they work really, really hard and they have their best work. And then once they get famous and they make it, they kind of, slack a little bit and they don't put out as much of the creativity and the songs and the raps and the bars kind of, some of the stuff, the quality of the overall product is not the same as it was early on. And some of the stuff early on is some of the best hip hop stuff that we've had in the last like 25 years. Like some of his early, Take Care and some of those first early albums. But I feel after the first few, there's been pretty big drop off. But I don't know if it's never going to get back to where it was in the very beginning stages. But obviously he already has cemented his legacy. But regardless if you love him or you hate him, people are still going to listen. Like when he drops something new, I mean, even the haters are listening. They're like, fuck this guy, right? But they're one of the first ones clicking on it and listening to it to either, leave a comment that it sucks or, or to bash it when it's like a really good song and just to be a hater or whatever. But he's one of those artists, there's not very many of those artists that are out nowadays. Like if Kanye wasn't so crazy, he would be there as well. But I think with a lot of his comments and actions, a lot of the Kanye fans aren't really about him anymore. Only the diehards that were like in love with Kanye like excuse his behavior, and then when he comes out with music they're like, yeah, but Kanye's stuff hasn't been as good besides his first couple albums too. But again, we can say that for many hip-hop artists. It's just not as good as it was. So Matt in the building, what to do? I did see that. Me and Megan saw that. See, now you know who he is. You're like, oh yeah, that's the guy that O-Dog had in fantasy. So there you go. Okay, so you have to wait for some things to change before you get the fandom back. That's understandable. Yeah, we'll throw up a Jason Myers up here too. Like I said, I always can have that hunch, and I usually can have it before anybody else. Like I just had a feeling that, like I said early on, that this guy could end up being one of the top 5 kickers, even though he never has been a top 5 kicker. But again, sometimes you just have to read the room. You have to look at the roster and just look at how they've been playing. And it just felt like to me, and again, I had Harrison Butker in the draft and I dropped him after a few weeks, and I never do that. Normally I'll hang on to him, but normally my star kicker doesn't get hurt in the first week. You know what I mean? Where I need points. And then I got Koo, and that worked out for a couple weeks. But then I was like, this Myers guy, I was like, okay, he's got like 2 games of double digits, and I saw a trend, and I was like, I'm going to grab him now before anyone's talking about him, and maybe I'll have him for the rest of the year. And that's exactly what happened. And he was a big part of their success throughout the year. And then now, hopefully, as long as the offense can stay somewhat the same, he should still be in the running to be a top 5 kicker next year as well. So, but like I said, when you don't have bias and you just look at players as far as like greatness, and I don't care about what team they play for, then I don't get caught up in all the extra bandwagon conversations or the arguments or the fandom of just being for that team only, and people can't recognize talent on other rival teams. It just makes things so much more clear for me to be able to make predictions and to win people money when I don't have any loyalty ties where I have to I have to say something good for Mariners, Blazers, Buccaneers, Ducks because I'm a fan of them. No, if they suck, I'm going to tell you. I don't need to sugarcoat or forgive them for being crappy. If they're crappy, you're going to know it. But if they're good, you're going to know it also. So, yeah, but I was pleasantly surprised, and that was a big part of, of them doing pretty good. Yeah, we can do that. Well, Michael Dixon. It's crazy too, because I got I'm the only one that really shows love towards like special teams, punters, kickers, placeholders, offensive linemen. And even if down the road other channels copy my style, most of them will never put up photos of like these extra guys that normally are not cared about or important. But let me tell you, some of the special teams photos are some of the best. I mean, it's cool when you see like an awesome running back photo, like Saquon hurdling, over defenders, which I've shown you guys before. So it's like, of course, if you get a photo like this, it's very hard to compare, like with special teams ones. But for every photo that I get, like this one, sometimes you get ones that are like action shots like this that I love, man. And it's like, it's good to be able to show that awareness for like punters and kickers. And they got some really cool action shots, man. Like I said, I mean, it's going to be hard to talk. You're never going to see a punter or a kicker photo better than that. You know what I mean? Unless you get some kind of like full extension and then someone's coming in to like fly in for a block and they take the picture at that right millisecond of a second of a photo. But obviously these are top of the line photos. But I still enjoy stuff like this. You know what I mean? Even though some people may not appreciate it, but photos like this can still tell a story. Love it. Michael in the building. What to do? Devin White. Career versus Nolan Ryan. 1 for 24. Oh, man. Another name that I haven't seen in a long time. It's on MLB Network. They got Nolan Ryan from 1991. Going for his 7th no-hitter. Over 40 years old. All right, I'm going to delete some of these other photos. Anything going on in the news that you want to discuss, Sarah, or no? It's a pretty slow day today, I think, overall. I mean, once we get NASCAR and obviously baseball going, then it'll obviously ramp up with more news. Damn, 11 Ks for Nolan Ryan. What inning is it?
4 delicious pieces of chocolate. 3 crisp wafers. 2 layers of sweet Kit Kat filling. 1 incredible drink. Have a break. Have a Kit Kat. Now served up in birthday cake.
Whenever heartburn strikes, get fast relief with Tums. It's time to love food back.
Thank you, Jameson. Every dollar counts. Appreciate you.
So you serve up new DiGiorno
$3 holla from our boy Jameson Mesa. Bang, bang, boom, boom. Bang, bang. $3 holla. What do you want to see, Jameson? I feel that we'll get a few more people coming through. I mean, some people are getting off work, some people are busy, but sometimes we got to wait a little bit. Sometimes not everyone comes in the first hour. Sometimes we get people in that last hour or in the middle. So, and like I said, I got 19 minutes until AEW comes on. So, this is just us chilling, hanging out, and I'm here for you guys. So anything you guys want to see, let me know, and I appreciate it. And like I said, slow but steady wins the race. And you're not gonna start off a show with $100 dono every day. Sometimes it takes a little time to be able to see who's available, and you kind of just have to play things by ear. So. Yeah, why not? I mean, good kickers, should get paid 10 or 20 million a year per year, in my opinion, but they're never going to do that. You know what I mean? But having a good kicker is one of the most valuable things you can have in the NFL. Think about how many games are decided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points. You know what I mean? And there's times where a kicker single-handedly wins you a game where they kick 4 or 5 field goals, and that's all you get. So, if you get a guy that had a career year, you know what I mean, as long as he can keep it up, I absolutely would pay, for someone that had a year that he had like that. I probably would even pay more. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, think about how many kickers are, bad, or even kickers that were really, really good, like Maher for the Cowboys all year, and he missed 4 extra points. So even guys that are, top 10 kickers can fuck up and get in their own head and start missing. But, those guys that are like, Harrison Butker and Evan McPherson and the Jason Myers, even though this is kind of a newer thing for Myers, but the main reason Myers got rewarded, getting all those extra points, only missing like a field goal or 2 throughout the year. But also, too, the offense is going to put him in more positions to be able to get in the red zone. And that's why he was able, to be able to take advantage of that, because back when they, had Russ and the other, situation, they weren't getting enough opportunities for him to be a name. So this was the first year where the offense was better, where they had a lot of opportunities to be able to get either extra points or field goals. So, if it's me, I'm thinking that might be even a little bit low. I know compared to most kickers, you don't really give kickers money, but ask the Ravens if they think Justin Tucker is valuable, or if the Bengals think McPherson is valuable, or if the Chiefs think Harrison Butker is valuable. I mean, a lot of these guys, they're much more important than people think, in my opinion. And if you have a bad kicker, I mean, like I said, if the games are so close and you miss 2 field goals, there's a chance that might cost you the game. It's not like you're going to go down and get touchdowns every time. Even if you are like the Kansas City Chiefs, you still need a guy to kick extra points and kick field goals. So I thought it was well deserved, man. So, had a good year, and hopefully he can continue it. Well, remember, you weren't even like, who is this guy? He's not good. And it's like, this guy's good, I'm telling you. And if I say it, then it comes true. I told you early in like September, October. I was like, this guy, if I got somebody in fantasy, I'm not going to roster anyone that sucks. I'm rostering the best in the NFL, and I'm getting those sleeper players that people are sleeping on. And then once, if I grab him early and then people look at him, oh shit, he's got 5 games of 10 points or more. Damn, I should have got him. But it's all about picking him up early when he only has like 1 or 2 good games, and then you take a chance and you feel good about the offense and where the direction is going, and then you have a year like he did. So hopefully he ends up repeating that next year. Yeah, but what are you going to do? Give the money to someone else and then they get hurt? You know what I'm saying? I mean, well, you can give money to a bunch of players, but I mean, obviously for me, O-line, D-line, defense, coaching, play calling, but having a good kicker and punter is very, very important. Most of the really, really good teams have at least a good punter or kicker, sometimes both. So, I mean, yeah, cap space, but honestly, 4 years, 20, that's nothing. That's chump change. For a guy that's probably going to, have the ball in his corner and have opportunities to be able to put up points every game. Because you got to think, even when he doesn't get field goal opportunities, he still is getting you 1, 2, 3 points, 4 points if he's getting extra points. And there's some kickers right now that can't even make extra points. They can't kick field goals, let alone in the wind, in the rain, in the snow, on the road, on the left hash, on the right hash, down the middle, and having that confidence. That you're not, because like I said, confidence, if you have bad mental health, you can't be a kicker, because you know how the fan base can get. You can miss one kick or 2 kicks and they're like, fuck you, you're off the team. Like a quarterback can have a bad game and they're not saying that, but a kicker can have a bad game of 2 or 3 missed kicks or 2 or 3 extra point misses. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, we need a replacement. There's no give. There's no like give and take. It's like, you make a bunch of kicks. Well, that's how it's supposed to be. But in reality, let's be honest, most kickers aren't very good. I mean, we only really have like 4 good kickers in the NFL, 4 or 5. I mean, if you really want to stretch it out to maybe like 10 out of 32 are decent, you can go that route, but there's definitely not 15 or 20 good kickers in the NFL. Personally, for me, I only think there's maybe about 5 that I would really count on. You got, let's go through them. We got Justin Tucker, you got Evan McPherson, you got Harrison Butker, obviously Jason Myers this year. Who else do you got? Carlson for the Raiders had good opportunities. Maher, there's probably about 10 that I'm like, okay, these would be ones that Koo for the Falcons. There's certain guys that sometimes they'll have better seasons than others, and not anyone is going to be Justin Tucker. And then the new Justin Tucker is probably McPherson on the Bengals based off his consistency. But every once in a while, you'll have a newbie like a Jason Myers, and and like I said, it's going to be the difference between you winning the NFC West or getting the wild card. It could come down to someone like him. But as long as the Niners keep progressing, it's going to be more difficult. What's up? Yeah, bring her in here. Paisley Pup. Do I need to grab her? Come here, Paisley. Hang out with Dad. Hang out with Daddy. Hang out here, Paisley. 91. There you go. You were 12 and 91. I was 9. So we were right there. Baseball cards, TBS, WGN for the Cubs, the good old days. Video games, Sega, Super Nintendo, NES. How many Ks does he have? Like 12 Ks? All right, we got 12 minutes to go before AEW comes on, and then I'll switch it from there. But I just love seeing like the uniforms and the players, the people in the crowd. It's just crazy. And also it's crazy too with Nolan Ryan that he played in 4 different decades, 1968 to 1993. So, this guy came in with the Mets, right? So he did that. Then he did the California Angels. Then he did the Houston Astros. And most people remember the Houston Astro throwback jersey, which is one of the coolest baseball jerseys that you can buy. The Astros Nolan Ryan with the orange and the way that it looks. I mean, I'm never going to buy an Astro jersey, but if I ever would, I mean, that's the only one that I ever would with that old school Nolan Ryan. And then at the end of his career, when he was in his like 40s, when people remember Robin Ventura rushing him and he just fucking put him in the, in the little, noggin hold and started like, give him noogies, and beating the shit out of him. But for a guy to have 7 no-hitters and even to get one after 40 years old, pretty remarkable. On top of that, not really having Tommy John or throwing his arm out and throwing for over 5,000 strikeouts and so many complete games. I mean, back then, these guys would pitch 9, 10, 11 innings straight. They didn't do mid-relievers or closers. If the guy was hot, they were like, fuck it, just keep going. And then that's what it was. So you would see guys put up these monster stats, and most of them, they threw their arm out. But for whatever reason, Nolan Ryan is like an alien, because I don't know how the hell you can pitch from 1968 to 1993, not have your arm fall off, get 7 no-hitters and do so many complete games where you're not even pitching fucking like a bunch of these like pussy players now that are pitching 5-6 innings. These guys are going 9, 10, 11, 12, 15. It's just mind-boggling that these guys were that hardcore, but obviously, and that was in the juicing era too. So it's like, so his no-hitters were in 73, 2 of them, 74, 75, 81, 1990, and then this one, which is in 1991. So he had some early in his career, 73, 73, 74, 75, took a break for 6 years, 81, then took another break of 9 years, 1990, and then he closed it off with two in the last 3 seasons of his actual MLB career. Well, that's pretty crazy. It's like a John Elway type thing, like having success even at the very, very end, or like LeBron. LeBron has been playing pretty lights out for considering rebounds, assists, scoring, everything that LeBron does, even if you're a hater or you hate the Lakers. And even if the Lakers are losing games, if you just look to see what LeBron is doing, it is pretty remarkable that LeBron is still putting up these insane numbers, even being at the age that he is. It's just, if you take care of your body and you're, rich and you can do all the different, diet and have the different machines you can get into for your body. And, a lot of these top athletes spend, $1 million to 10 million on their body and their diet. So as long as they're committed, of course, and you have the genetics like a LeBron James, let's be honest. I mean, there hasn't been too many players that have had the pressure like LeBron and lived up to the expectations and exceeded them. Because I remember watching LeBron play in high school, and they had it on ESPN and I had the Sports Illustrated. So I already knew about LeBron, even when he was like a sophomore. They were like, oh, this LeBron James guy, this guy could be like number 1 pick. And then I remember when his rookie cards came out in 2003, that was the biggest thing since Shaq rookie cards in like 92. And then maybe like Kobe's and Iverson's in 96. And, in that time period, like Kobe and Iverson was a pretty big thing. And then after that, then the LeBron thing, because then you had like Chris Bosh and Carmelo, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron. That 2003 class was something. And I remember I collected quite a few rookie cards of those guys because I was like, wow, this is a pretty amazing draft class. Like I was kind of predicting in my head. I was like, all 4 of those guys could be Hall of Famers. Carmelo just won the championship with Syracuse. So he was already doing things there, being in the tournament. So he was good with Syracuse with Jim Boeheim. Then you had LeBron, the phenom. Then you had Dwayne Wade, and we saw him at Marquette in the tournament. Then you had Chris Bosh. So I was like, oh, okay. And then eventually they all, met up and tried to do the Miami Heat thing. But then they got bailed out by Ray Allen. If Ray Allen didn't get that tip out from Bosh, then LeBron doesn't even get that ring there in Miami. But that's another day and another story. And what I exactly wanted to see is if John Olerud was still on the Blue Jays and not, Mariners based off the time period, and he just came up to bat. We got Nolan Ryan on the mound and John Olerud. That was one of my favorite Blue Jays and Mariners from back in the day. Matt Prater. And you Robbie Gold. There's a lot of guys that are kind of like mid-level, but if it's a clutch situation, if you had them, you would trust them. You know what I mean? I think Robbie Gold might be better than Prater, but Prater sometimes has a leg. But there definitely is guys now that I feel like, like a Tucker and a McPherson, a Harrison Butker, and then obviously the newbies, Myers, Carlson, Maher, like if you get plenty of opportunities in a good offense, you can turn yourself into a top 5 kicker. You just got to make sure that, when you're getting those chippies for 20 and 30s, you make them. But if your team is always getting in the red zone, the difference between being a top 5 kicker and a top 10, you got to be able to make those 50s, the 55s, the 48s. And a lot of the guys that aren't in the top 5, they can't make them on a regular basis. But the guys that are the ones that, can go long, 60, 59, and even like a 58-yarder for most people is so difficult. But the really good kickers, a 58 to them is 48 to everyone else. So they don't really feel the pressure unless it's like 65 yards, something crazy, 70, like, some kind of like Justin Tucker record-breaking kick, But even that being said, we've seen some of these guys kick, 60, 61, 64, 66, they got the leg. And some of them I think could kick 70 if it came down to it, but I don't know how much further than 70. I think 70 might be like the max. And we haven't seen a 70-yard kick in the NFL yet, but I wouldn't be shocked in the next 20 years if we do hit a 70-yarder at some point. I mean, they're only a few more yards from that, from the record. So, and I know that sounds like crazy, but I mean, it's not like going to be like in Madden where you can kick it from like, you change all the settings, you kick it from like 80 yards. It's not that. It's not like that. So, yeah, pretty crazy. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not the biggest LeBron, guy. Kind of like a Kobe thing. It's like you kind of respect the player from afar. I got some memorabilia. I got some rookie cards. I got some fat heads. I got some, some good LeBron McFarlanes. I got the very first LeBron McFarlanes. I got quite a few McFarlane figures and all kinds of different memorabilia. I don't have any LeBron Lakers stuff, but all my stuff I think is like Cavs. It's like early LeBron and whatnot. But either you love him or you hate him. I think that's really what it comes down to for a guy's career. And then especially if you're like a Heat fan or a Laker fan, of course, if LeBron's coming to your team, you're going to accept him. It's not like you're going to be like, well, fuck that guy. You're like, all right, well, this guy's coming to help us win. So, it's better to have LeBron than not, as long as you have a decent bench. But that's what's happened lately. The bench hasn't been very good. And then speaking of Lakers, they're actually on right now. What do we got? We got Jazz 103, Clippers 82, Lakers 30, Kings 20. Grizzlies beat the Cavs 115-114. T-Wolves 35, Nuggets 34. Wizards beat the Knicks 116-105, and the Heat beat the Pelicans 124-98. Hi, Paisley. All right, I got 2 minutes before AEW. All right, let me change the channel. And I got AEW from the very start. Oh, hockey is on. I don't know. Have you been watching any hockey, Sarah? You still keep up with hockey this year or no? Hi, Paisley. I see you. I'll play with you after I'm done. I got to keep grinding it out. Hi.
Premium collagen that supports healthy hair, skin, nails, bones, and joints. Could it help you? Only if you have hair, skin, bones, and joints. Vital proteins.
Yeah.
For everybody.
I mean, Odin's, it's like sometimes you have to be around certain people to kind of get, I think, excited for it. It's like, if I know I have people that are going to be into it, and then it gets me more into it. You know what I mean? Where we have like Mike or Riggs, and, I have certain people that are like the NASCAR people. So it gets me more excited, when you have people that are paying attention to the league the same way as you. But, if you don't have a lot of those people, it's kind of hard to get into something when you feel like you're kind of the lone wolf. And obviously, like, I don't know if I ever will get into NHL or soccer. I doubt it, but I do want to go see the Kraken in person. And from what I've been reading and seeing, the Kraken has actually been halfway decent. They've actually been playing, they've been breaking some records, for being an early expansion team. And they've been actually, I don't follow every game, but I've been reading up a little bit on them, throughout the season and, through what's going on. And Paisley's looking at me. Hi, I love you. I gotta keep doing this, but we'll hang out after I'm done. I promise. Okay. She always wants Dad's attention. All right, let's get a LeBron for Jameson. I know we don't talk about LeBron that often, or really NBA, and it does kind of kill me inside that I hate the NBA now and I hate college hoops. I wish I didn't hate it, because then it would give me another thing to do for content, just extra content. But like I said, I just can't fake it. I just can't fake like, oh, I'm so into this. And if it's like to spend 3 hours of something that you pretend to hate, that's just, I can't do it, man. I mean, all these people on TV that they do it all the time, I just would rather do something more for like mental health or, talk about something that I think is more important, but all right, here we go, AEW. So at least I get something here. Yes, Dynamite. Let's go. Yeah, after LeBron is done playing, that's when the more people will get appreciation, for what he did overall as a career. Yeah, but imagine if you decided not to pay him the money and then you decided to have him walk or go somewhere else, and then you ended up getting a shitty kicker, and then you end up losing games every week because you can't get a reliable kicker. Then you'll be like, hell, we should have given him more money. It's like until things start going wrong, then you start to realize how important having a solid kicker is in the NFL. I mean, if you actually want to make a deep run in the playoffs, you have to have a good kicker. It's very rare that a team has a bullshit, horrible kicker, like bottom 5, bottom 10, and they make it to the Super Bowl and win it all. Normally, if you actually look at the teams that, go pretty far, they typically have a top 10 kicker. Yeah, that's the last thing that I saw with the 8-game win streak. Yeah, that's awesome. And like I said, we got freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. Like I said, I used to do the Portland Winterhawks. You could go see them versus Seattle, and you can go for like $20 back in the day and sit front row, right? So you could like bring a date or bring a friend, and they would just be pounding each other's faces on the glass, like right in front of you. So for like the AAA of, obviously the Winterhawks have won some championships, and they're like the league below. It's kind of like AAA baseball going into the pros. It's like that, for the WHL. But I don't go often, you know what I mean? But those are kind of fun with friends, where you can go to. But and obviously if you go to the rivalry matchup, that's where the big fights are going to be. So every time that I would go, I would do Portland, Seattle, because I just know that they're going to beat the shit out of each other. Yeah, it could happen in other rivalry games, but nothing's going to be bigger than those two going against each other in those matchups. Always big fights. So, but I remember some pretty good memories, for so cheap for like $20-$25, and you're literally like front row right on the ice. It's pretty remarkable. I mean, obviously being front row on an NHL would be much more expensive. I don't know how much front row for NHL would cost, but I would assume it's like NFL and NBA and MLB, where you're not going to be able to get front row for under $500. You're probably having to pay $500 or more. So we got Jay Lethal coming out. International members for the Kraken. Yeah, and I went through some of my boxes and stuff and like old things, and I ended up finding this one as really special to me. But this one is the 1989 Upper Deck. They based off the rookie card. The first year Upper Deck was made, and they made a bobblehead based off his rookie card, and it was a game that you had to go to, obviously to get it, and it was very limited. And I remember that I had it, but I didn't know where it was, and I finally ended up finding. So it's just always cool to be able to, find the things like that. And I'm a big Ken Griffey Jr. guy. So I also invested in the 95 slide where they did that as a giveaway, but then it fell off one of my things and it broke, like the head broke off and it like chipped off. So I ended up tossing that, and that kind of sucked because some of those older bobbleheads you're usually paying $50 to $100 because it gets the box and depending on the condition. So I'll have to buy that one again. But this one is really special to me, and it's got boxes that you can flip the tab. So it's not like the box is ruined if I take it out. And then I got obviously the one that I looked for a Randy Johnson bobblehead through a game giveaway, and they only made one in the career. And I was lucky enough to find that last year as well. So the little Randy Johnson and the Dan Wilson. So it's always good to be able to surround yourself with stuff. And then I did more digging, and then I found my 1997 Randy Johnson starting lineup, and I got some of those ones too. So I don't have too much of the loose, but if I it's like Randy Johnson, Griffey, Randy Johnson, Dan Wilson, Griffey, LaMichael, Mariota, Hollywood Hogan, and then I got the statue figures of Griffey and then A-Rod behind the TV there. This one is pretty dope. I don't know if I've showed you guys this, but I'm a big, obviously, wrestling collector. And so this is NWO guardrail. So obviously if you have the guys, breaks apart, you can put it back in. So you got the NWO guardrail. And then it goes with, and this is probably my favorite figure that I own that's loose, a vintage WCW Hollywood Hogan with the obviously kind of the rubber cutoff shirt. It's got the Hollywood on the pants with the lightning bolt for life. And it even has the spray paint, NWO spray paint. Very, very cool. And a lot of these, you could like squeeze the legs together and then it would make the arms move and whatnot. But I've always liked the heel characters more. But, you know, Hulk Hogan, I had an old school Hulk Hogan figure when I was a kid. But nothing is better than that, man. I mean, and obviously I have Kevin Nash's, Scott Hall's. I got a lot of the NWO Sting. But the Toy Biz line for the wrestlers in like 95 to like 99. I mean, like I said, just when wrestling was at its peak from like 95 to 99, I feel that's when the Monday Night Wars and WCW, ECW, and WWF were in their peak. It's never going to be as good as it was there. So, but yeah, it's always good to be able to go through and I'll end up taking a picture because obviously one is yellow and black and the other one is green. But then I have like the LaMichael and the Mariota figures here, and they are custom McFarlanes that used to be NFL players. And so what these artists do on eBay is they'll get a McFarlane that's like a normal NFL player, like a running back, and then they'll end up repainting it, right, to another player, like college player or someone else. You just have to find someone that's got a similar body size. And then there's like decals that you can like glue on, but a lot of these guys that will paint them on. So I have one that has like decals on the Mariota of like the Rose Bowl patch. And it's like little pieces of paper that were like glued on or like heated on, you know, onto like the actual figure. And that one is a cheaper one. But then I got one that's like painted on, and where the guy put the decal and painted it over and did more of like a professional job. And so one of them was like 60 to 75 bucks. And then the one that's more painted with the decals and the one that's more expensive, that one was like the 125 to 151, but they're both one of ones. And it's just cool to be able to have like Oregon figures because they don't make Oregon figures. You know, they do, you know, obviously, you know, if I ask the guy to make me like an Oregon Herbert, you know, then you can end up, you know, paying, it's usually over $100. But it's just kind of cool where you can end up getting a figure made that doesn't exist. You know, sometimes they'll make a college line, but they might not have your guys. But I mean, the only ones I ever really wanted were LaMichael, Mariota, D'Anthony. I don't own a D'Anthony, but I remember I almost bought a D'Anthony one time, but I never did. But the LaMichael one is definitely by far the best. It's got like a nice leaping pose, and even the numbers and the decal is correct to what they wore, you know, back in that time period in 2009, 2010 when we were going in the Natty against Cam Newton in that time period. So very cool. Evans is bigger. Lattimore is feisty though. But you're not going to really, I mean, they'll as NFL players, they'll beat the shit out of each other. But I mean, Lattimore is a top, 10, top 12, corner, but Mike Evans is a Hall of Famer. So I think that's, even though Lattimore has had some games where he's shut Mike Evans down, I don't think anyone is going to say after both are done playing that Lattimore is the better player, But of course, Saints fans love to argue and talk shit. But, now it's, they've never seen their team this bad. And I'm glad, because like I said, for all the shit talking over the years of having Breeze and being the best team in football in the regular season and having no Super Bowls to show for it. And then, all the complaining and the cheating and the Roger Goodell. I mean, that shit gets old. And then now they finally realize what it's like to be like the Bucks or the Panthers or the Falcons, where it's like, you suck just as much as us. I mean, what are you going to say now? And then a lot of them, they stopped watching, or, they don't come here. You got to be able to support your team, good, bad, and ugly. But I get it though. When it's ugly, it's hard. I mean, just ask me and Sarah this year. Shit was not really fun. For Iowa, for her, Colts for her. I mean, obviously for the Ducks, I mean, we had some success, but Blazers haven't really looked that good since the beginning of the year. Tampa was horrible. And the only bright side for me last year was the Mariners. That at least that gave me a hell of a lot of joy. That and obviously doing the NASCAR stuff, but you can't expect all your teams to be great. All right, we got Orange Cassidy and Jay Lethal. So they didn't even lead off with the Young Bucks and Top Flight. Maybe it's on after this. Ooh. Cutter counter by Orange Cassidy. Ooh, nice sell by Jay Lethal on the nice DDT. 2. We got Jeff Jarrett.
Orange Cassidy have in mind here trying to defend this All Atlantic Championship against an extremely credible challenger in Jay Lethal.
Orange Cassidy in the top row. Oh, shit. That was a good combo. All right, let me delete some of these other photos, make a room for a few more. And then anything that you guys want to go over, just let me know. I mean, unless you just want to watch me watch TV, but I. Oh, nice cutter. No worries. I'll talk to you soon. Sometimes, it ends up being a little slower. You just have to hope that people will come through and hang out. And I mean, obviously we don't, when you don't have any major games going on, sometimes there will be some slow points, but hopefully we'll end up getting some goats to come through. Anything you want to see, Sarah? Dunhausen with the guitar. Oh, Darby. No. Orange. Ooh. Orange crush. That's over. 1, 2, 3. All right. Orange Cassidy, baby. Cassidy. All right, I'll get you some. And I know he wrestled, and then I saw that he's wrestling like Japanese wrestlers, and I think he's got Brian Cage next week. Like every week he's wrestling someone. Like to me, he's must see TV. Like when he's on, like when Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks are on, it's like you can't not watch the match. Like for me, that's going to be one of the top guys out of all my favorites that if he's on, I'm watching. And I feel Bryan Danielson, you could argue right now that Bryan Danielson is the top wrestler or one of the top 2, top 3 that's wrestling right now. Like Moxley's fun to watch too, because he's got that kind of bruiser type of style. But I think with Bryan Danielson, his skill set, for being a technician on the mat with like holds and obviously submissions and also high flying and punches and kicks. I don't know. I just feel right now Bryan Danielson might be the most entertaining, wrestler for me match wise in the last couple months. I mean, it just seems like everything I watch from him, I'm always intrigued. It's always good. I haven't seen him with a bad match, maybe ever, honestly. All right, Orange, I see you, bud. I got an hour and 45 minutes left of Dynamite. Kushida.
Kushida, widely regarded as one of the greatest junior heavyweights of his generation in Japan, set his sights on the United States where he crossed paths with many of the top stars in AEW and beyond, and claimed the Ring of Honor World Television Championship. Now he has a chance tonight to enhance his legacy with a victory over Darby Allin for the TNT Championship in our main event. Darby Allin defends against Kushida here tonight in our main event. Darby coming off a successful title.
Yeah, I think that was probably the best team that we've ever had. I actually watched them play, a few games, on the Pac-12 network where they actually showed, them going against Colorado in the bowl game. And then just that year we had, quarterback, 2 running backs, Ontario Smith and Maurice Morris, go to the NFL, one to the Vikings, one to the Seahawks, obviously with Ontario Smith and Maurice Morris. And you had like Keenan Howery, Sammy Parker, you had wide receivers that went, tight ends, offensive line, defensive players. That's when we had like Kevin Mitchell, David Moretti. We had, and then we had Wesley Mallard, M, and M. I remember all that, but I think, out of all the teams that we've ever had, I think that was the best team that we've ever had collectively, offense and defense. Besides maybe the year where we lost to Auburn and Cam Newton with LaMichael James. I think those were probably the 2 best teams that we've ever had. Because that was the year that we should have won the Natty, and then this one we would have played Miami and lost. But for the simple fact that Nebraska played and they lost, and we played Colorado, we ended up number 2, and that was probably the best team that we've ever had. I mean, based on everything that I've looked at. All right, we got the Young Bucks. Let's go, baby. This is what I wanted to see. Jackson, Young Bucks. Nobody's better than the Young Bucks at tag team wrestling, period. It's not even close. It's like every time you watch them wrestle, you're always going to see something you've never seen before or something high-flying, up-tempo. It's just, I don't know, that people are not on the same level as these guys. I mean, if you're just like a WWE guy, I mean, name one tag team that's better than these guys. You can't. You just can't. As far as entertainment value, it reminds me of like RVD and Sabu. It's like you can't not watch them. And Kenny Omega. It's like always good every single time. Just like Kenny Omega, too. Or Will Ospreay. It's like never bad. It's always amazing. Always phenomenal. All right, Jameson, take it easy, brother. Yeah, slow. I mean, like I said, I figured we'd have quite a few more people. I mean, I get it when we have these streams that are like kind of in between the week and whatnot, but hopefully we can get a few more people. But again, when you do this, some days are going to be, just popping off, even when there's no game on, and other days it's just kind of pulling teeth and a little slower. You just got to have faith. It's, no matter how bad it looks for an hour or 2 or 3 hours, you just got to keep the faith. So. And hopefully we can get there. But this is the match that the main one that I was looking forward to watching. And I really like Top Flight as well. Top Flight is really athletic. Dante Moore. I mean, Nick and Matt Jackson are super athletic. But I think as far as like young wrestlers, Dante Moore might be the most athletic young wrestler that's on the scene right now. I'm not sure if there's anyone more athletic than him at his age. He's got a lot of craziness and high flying in him, that's for sure. A little Nick and Matt Jackson, a little Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy in him. Special, fun to watch. And I remember watching him early on, and I was like, God, who is this Dante Moore kid? This kid's good. I was like, this guy's really athletic and fun to watch. Always doing like moves that are like different. Nice. Yeah, and the one thing that's about the Young Bucks, I think that separates them is like just the chemistry, the double team moves, the triple team moves, the move after move after move. Sequential. It's like when they lead up and they do one move that leads to a hold for another guy to do a DDT to lead to a body slam that leads to another to a leg drop. It's like this continuation of moves and just having it look, so clean. And you don't really get that in WWE. Unfortunately, I wish we did. Oh, nice backstabber. But that's the type of wrestling that I like to see, that up-tempo, kind of lucha libre, and that's why I like the Lucha Bros as well. I don't like slow wrestling, and that's what I think WWF is and WWE is. Punch, kick, look at the crowd, kick to the gut, kick to the head in the corner, DDT, body slam, 1, 2, 3. You don't really get a lot of, unless they have like a gimmick match or a cage match, then they're going to bring it. But I feel like a lot of the WWF and WWE matches are too simple, and they're not as hardcore as I would like, and that's why I liked WCW, ECW, and AEW, because they just give you something you don't get from WWE or WWF, and you never will. It's just you got the one that's like the most popular, but I feel as far as like style of wrestling, I would rather watch WCW, ECW, or AEW over WWF or WWE any day, unless we're talking about old school WWF. Then I'm all about that life. But I don't know, the last 10 years or so, 12 years, it hasn't really been that special on the WWE side, in my opinion. But at least at this point, Triple H has done a good job, but we'll have to figure out if they sell the company and if things change and who they sell to. So. Yeah. On the days that it ends up being kind of slow, though, I don't really, try to worry about it too much. It's just, it's just more like one of those things. It's like you're just like in a chat room, you're chilling, and if people show up and, they want to be able to, have a conversation or, do a dono, and we start going down a dono train. It just takes one person to turn things around. You know what I mean? So we'll see. And like I said, at any point, if you have to go or you want to go, you're more than welcome to. If you need to do that, but I got to keep grinding it out. Sometimes it's nice when you can get things all in the beginning, and then you can kind of dictate how long you go for. But when you have those ones where it's super slow and you're nowhere near, I don't have the choice of being like, well, we've gone for 2 hours. Let's just call it, and I can't do that. So I wish I could sometimes, but also, you just got to be able to appreciate the grind. The journey is not going to be easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. You got to be, mentally strong, and it's just nice to know, you only need one person to turn the stream around. So hopefully we get that 1 or 2 people, and we'll get there. No, I don't think it would have been fun. We would have got our ass kicked. You know what I mean? So it actually worked out. We finished number 2, but we deserved to play Miami that year, not Nebraska. I think everyone knew that. We were the second best team in the country, but even with that being said, we would have got absolutely fucking crushed. Ken Dorsey, fucking Jeremy Shockey, Clinton Portis, like Willis McGahee. That shit was unfair. Those motherfuckers had everybody. They had so many fucking players. That was like, Miami was the best back in the day with Jimmy Johnson and like Michael Irvin way back in the day, right? But then they had that rebirth in the U. Remember, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, they had a rebirth with Coker. And but then it didn't last very long. But they did, they recruited like they did in the 80s back in that early, 2000s, and they were pretty fucking special. That Nebraska team and that Colorado team weren't that bad either, but I think it was pretty clear that Oregon and Miami were the best 2 teams all year. And again, Oregon's team was solid because, again, we had quarterback that went to the NFL, 2 running backs that went to the NFL, 2 or 3 receivers that went to the NFL, 2 tight ends that went to the NFL, a couple offensive linemen that went to the NFL, and then at least 4 or 5 players from the secondary, D-line, and linebacker that made the NFL. So, it was literally the most NFL suited team that we ever had, I think, because remember at one point, where you had like Patrick Chung at corner, Walter Thurman. There was a point where we actually had 4 players that all made the NFL from corner and safety. TJ Ward, Patrick Chung, Walter Thurmond, and then there was another one. We had like 4 of them, corners and safeties, on top of guys throughout the years like Haloti Ngata and a few other guys. But that was a little bit later, though. Dante Moore with the tag. I need to see the Young Bucks in person, though, and Kenny Omega. Ooh, what a move. Yeah. It just sucks. Sometimes it's like, when you end up hitting big numbers, you're at 2 or 5 or 8, and then you have these days where you're nowhere even near even 50. And it just looks so, so bleak and so grim. There's barely anybody here. We're barely at a number. We've been grinding for a couple hours. But again, you never know. A lot of times people aren't getting the notifications. But most people know that I'm going to be grinding. It's a choice if they want to come through or not. So. And then every once in a while, you'll just have to take your L if it ends up being a slower or bad day. But we typically don't have 2 or 3 bad days in a row. Sometimes it'll be a couple slow days, but we eventually rebound. So. And plus, with Shep doing what he did and Louise, we have a little bit of wiggle room. I mean, we still need to make up for those 4 or 5 days with the mental health issues that I had. But, to be able to have that type of support, that'll make up for some of these days that we had, when you end up having a $1,500 stream or, you have like a $200 or $300 stream, instead of having 100, 100 or 200, 100, 100. Sometimes you're going to have the big number and then you're going to be at like 50 or less. And you just have to I guess, stomach it and just hope that you don't have too many of those kind of days. But. And again, I could always, end up doing like an upload and having a couple hundred people watch like a video, but I would rather kind of vibe and talk with people every day rather than, just do upload. You know what I mean? I like to be able to interact. And so it's like, I did plenty of uploads the first couple of years. And, even if it's a very short, limited crowd, it's always good to be able to talk to people each day and, and just kind of vibe. Because, what are most people doing at this point anyways? They're just doing what we're doing right now. They're just watching TV or they're on the internet or they're on their phones. It's just we're in this room here. So, all right, I'm going to swap the background. Where do I want to go? Oh, Hawaiian plate lunch. That sounds good. We can always transition into some food. We don't have, too many people. So, I don't know if any of the goats are going to show up. I pray that we do. We gotta hope we can get to at least half of the goal at the very, very least. I hope, but again, we got to keep grinding. But if we want to go down another path, whatever you guys want to see, if you guys want to see food, Sarah and Matt, just start, listing off some suggestions. And then I can start going down there. We usually do the breakfast food type thing, but we can do something else. Meats or chicken or pastas or. This Young Bucks top flight match is good, but we already knew it was going to be good. 2 athletic wrestlers versus 2 athletic wrestlers. And it's like, and another reason why I like Nick and Matt Jackson, they're not like all roided up. They're not like 8-pack, 10-pack. They just look like wrestlers. They're a lot more athletic than they look. They don't look like they have beer bellies, but they definitely are not like roid, like where they're have 10 packs and you can tell they're just doing all the supplements and the roids. 1, 2. The Loco Moco, is that your favorite? See if I can find a good photo for you. I ended up having a burger early this morning. I almost bought a burger onion ring combo super late, from a place that closes like right before midnight. But I was like, no, I shouldn't do it. I'll wait in the morning. And then, you end up getting those ones that's like kind of like a breakfast burger where it's got like the burger in there, but then they have the egg in there. And I usually don't eat stuff that has the egg in there, but I decided to get it, and it was delicious. It was so good. I was like, sometimes they'll have like a piece of ham and the burger with the egg. This one didn't have the ham. Wow, Top Flight got the win. Top Flight beating the Young Bucks is ridiculous. But, especially if they want to help them get over. You know what I mean? Yeah, but the egg is, man, I was like, wow, this is so good. And the onion rings were on point too. And then I'll figure out if I end up doing like sushi or pad thai. I usually get into these modes where I like to switch it up. It's like, I'll maybe like spaghetti and then maybe like a sub sandwich and then, maybe something like greens, like salad type stuff. And then boom, then I'll go to something else. But yeah, I don't know where I'm going to go. But yeah, that looks amazing, dude. Taco salad, that sounds good too. Who's got the best Moco Loco? I know there's probably all kinds of competition and whatnot, but is there a particular spot that has one that's better than other places near you? And what makes the best Moco Loco? The protein, the egg, the sauce. Like what makes the one separate themselves from another like restaurant? Like that looks amazing right there. Oh, chive on top. Shit looks good. Yeah, and I'm trying not to eat burgers like too often, just because that's how you gain a lot of weight. Like, and you eat a burgers like every day or almost every day. Gosh, you can gain so. I mean, even if you're exercising and stuff, it just. I feel like if you eat the burgers and the pizza, that puts on the weight the fastest, and it's a lot harder to kind of work off that weight. I mean, so I definitely have to make sure I get my walks in and whatnot.
Online privacy protection. Discover will help remove your personal data from 10 popular people search websites. Online privacy protection.
What to do? Galadizi. I'm a big 49er guy, and I think the 49ers definitely have a good chance to be able to not only beat the Cowboys, but they might be the only team that could beat Philly, in the NFC on the road. I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever if the Niners beat the Eagles in the NFC Championship game if they get past Dallas. And if the Niners get to the Super Bowl, I actually think that they could compete with the Bills, the Bengals, or the Chiefs, but you might need to have somebody better than Purdy, when it comes down to doing the big game. Like, let's say the Niners beat the Cowboys, the Niners shock the world and they beat the Eagles, but then they fall short in the fourth quarter and they play like the Bills and the Bills end up winning by like 4. Like, I could see something like that happening. I know the Niners are going to end up winning a Super Bowl, but it just may not be this year. But to me, you could argue that that's the best team in the NFC right now with McCaffrey being healthy. Jalen Hurts has some issues with the injury. People think that he might be a little bit more hurt than they're leading on. But, I mean, right now, to me, Eagles, Niners, Cowboys. But Cowboys need to prove to me that they can actually beat someone other than Tampa, and we'll find out. But I truly believe the Niners are going to beat the Cowboys, and it could get ugly, but it should be pretty close. Bengals and Bills could go either way, and then I would assume the Chiefs will beat the Jags by more than 10, and I would assume that the other matchup as well will be kind of a blowout on Saturday also. But again, that's why we have to watch football and see how kind of things play out. But I would assume Philly will beat the Giants by more than 10 as well. I mean, it is possible that the Jags and Giants and Dallas and Cincinnati all have a legitimate shot on the road. But I mean, the one that you probably only are going to get one upset out of those 4, since you already had 2 or 3 in the wild card round, super wild card. So I would say Kansas City wins, Eagles win. I wouldn't mind Cincinnati beating Buffalo, and then I think San Fran wins over Dallas. So that's kind of my personal feeling on it. Yeah, but it doesn't matter that you got Mr. Irrelevant. The weakest link to most people is the quarterback, right? But the thing is that Kyle Shanahan, I'm a big Kyle Shanahan guy. He's my favorite coach that's not on my own team, right? And he knows how to, find the weaknesses of the other teams. And arguably the supporting cast around the quarterback on the Niners is one of the best in the league. You got Run CMC, you got Kittle, you got Debo, you got Make 'em Puke Ayuk. I mean, you got so many weapons, there, and a beautiful, amazing offensive line with the best left tackle in Trent Williams and a great defense. You got plenty of Hufanga emerging, Fred Warner, you got, Nick Bosa, you got plenty of pieces. So at some point, the Niners are going to win the Super Bowl. But again, this year, I would be shocked if they lose to the Cowboys. And I think they definitely have a shot against the Eagles, even if they have to go on the road. It's just about winning it all. If you can get past Dallas and the Eagles, they will be confident on trying to win it all. And obviously the NFC teams have a better overall team, offense and defense. Dallas has a defense. Eagles have a defense. Niners have a defense. The Bengals don't. The Chiefs don't, and the Bills don't. They don't really have good defenses. Their defenses in the AFC, they play in spurts. But the NFC teams have defenses that play great all 4 quarters. And that's why we've had the Rams and the Bucs win the last 2 years. So the better quarterbacks are in the AFC, right? They have Hall of Fame guys there, Herbert, Burrow, Allen, and Mahomes. But just because you have a Hall of Fame quarterback, that doesn't mean that that's going to be the team that wins the Super Bowl. You got to have a good O-line, D-line, defense, coaching, play calling. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end are irrelevant. You know what I mean? And you can be like, well, that's bullshit. Well, it's true. Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek, Travis Kelce. Remember against the Buccaneers? How many points did they score? How many touchdowns did they get? 0. So it shows you, as great as being a number 1 quarterback, number 1 receiver, number 1 tight end, if you can't have time, it doesn't matter if you have number 1 tight end, number 1 receiver, number 1 quarterback. If the defense has got a bunch of dogs out there, it's going to be really difficult to be able to, move the ball, and that's what happens. So, yeah, I don't think that that's a little asking too much. You know what I mean? But out of all the teams that are left, you have one of the 5 teams that can win it all: Niners, Eagles, Bengals, Bills, Chiefs. There's no one else that can win it besides those 5 teams, in my opinion. I can't even put Dallas in there because, you won 1 game, but can you win more than that? And eventually they will, like if they got a Sean Payton to come there with Dan Quinn if he stays. But, at this point, the Niners and Eagles are much better than Dallas, in my opinion. But even though Dallas is getting hot at the right time, but the Niners are the better team, in my opinion. I mean, like I said, if I wasn't a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, I would be a Niner fan. They didn't have defensive players when I was, growing up. Dion was there, and then he left. And then the next year, Sapp and Brooks got drafted, and then that was when I decided. But if Dion would have stayed in 94 when they won the Super Bowl with Steve Young and stayed for another year in 95, then I probably would have ended up being, the biggest Dion guy. I still am a big Dion guy, but maybe I would have been at a crossroads. It's either San Francisco or Tampa. But, those were always the teams that I looked at that I had the most connection to growing up. Yeah, but you got to crawl before you walk. So, and the Niners, they just need a quarterback to score points in the 4th quarter. That's their problem. They don't need to have someone throw for 3 or 4 touchdown passes. That'll help, but they just need someone that just to be effective in the 4th quarter, and they can win the Super Bowl. I'll throw up a Brock Purdy for you, though. Great story about the kid. But it shows you, if you have an amazing coach, who I think might be the best coach in the NFL as a young coach, right, with Kyle Shanahan, right? And then you got Run CMC. That might have been one of the best trades during the midseason in the last 10 years, right? And you got great Kittle and Debo and Ayuk and, defensive players, Trentwood. I mean, there's no weaknesses. They always, the quarterback's the weak spot. But then he ends up being not a weak spot, and they have no weaknesses. They can literally, Kyle Shanahan can put anybody at quarterback, and they can be relevant. I mean, they can put, Jimmy. They can put Trey Lance. They can put the, Mr. Irrelevant, 7th round, pick 1 billion, and then they make this guy look like he's a all-pro top 10 quarterback, because he's got the great supporting cast and great line. I mean, if you got 5 seconds on almost every throw, and then if you are getting into the rhythm or you're a little off, then you can just hand it off to Run CMC a billion times. It's like everything is there for them. And like I said, there's not very many teams that I think that can win on the road. There's probably 2, the Bengals and San Fran. Those are probably the only 2 teams that are built tough, because obviously the Bills are at home, Kansas City's at home, Eagles are at home. I get it. But, San Fran on the road and obviously the Bengals on the road, they're pretty confident on whoever they play, and they don't really get intimidated. So, we got Hangman Page. But I mean, it's one thing to throw for like a touchdown pass, or two. But when you start doing 3 or 4 or 5, then that's when people are like, whoa, but it's not just Brock Purdy, it's Kyle Shanahan. Because, I mean, look at anyone that Kyle has worked with. Kyle got Matt Ryan to the Super Bowl. Kyle got Jimmy G to the Super Bowl. Kyle can get Jimmy there. And obviously Purdy, I feel right now that he's looked the best out of, the 3. But obviously Trey Lance got hurt and, Jimmy's got limitations. But once they get their, quarterback figured out, or if the Niners ever get a top 10 quarterback, then it's game over. Then at that point, they will get their Super Bowl, but they might have to go through another loss or two before they get it. But eventually the Niners will get a Super Bowl. I just don't know if it's going to be this year. Especially the AFC teams are going to be very tough. Bengals, Bills, Chiefs. And then also you got to get past the Cowboys and Eagles before we even talk about the Niners getting to the Super Bowl. And those are going to be tough games. The Eagles will be much tougher than the Cowboys, but I think the Cowboys are going to be very motivated and they're going to fight. But again, it's one thing for the Cowboys to put up, 30 plus points against a garbage Tampa Bay team. You know what I mean? Compared to a team that's got really good defense. And we all know the NFC teams have good defense. So, but that's what it really shows you that, I mean, do you think that Brock Purdy could do that on any team? Hell no. I mean, imagine if Brock Purdy was on the Jets, no one would even be talking about him. It's one thing where we talk about like Mike White, but again, it's the organization, it's Shanahan, it's Lynch, it's the offensive line, the defense, the coaching. And the thing that's the most amazing about the Niners to me is they don't have Mike McDaniel or Saleh anymore, and they're still killing it. So TN Jose in the building, what to do? How are you, brother? A little bit of a slow night, but I got to keep grinding. I'll throw up some Mac Jones for you if you'd like. Oh, we got Jericho coming out.
Certainly no lack of respect between Hangman Adam Page and John Moxley, but we want to talk about complete lack of respect. The Jericho Appreciation Society toward anyone else. Yeah, well, that's why the head honcho, that's why Jericho himself, he's the hood of the JAS.
Thank you, TN Jose. Appreciate you, man. It's been slow as shit, dude. I don't know where everyone is at today. I don't know if it's just because it's like middle of the week or whatever, but it's always better when I can still have a good successful stream with a little amount of people in there, but sometimes you want to have more than just a couple, so just to kind of drive the conversation. So appreciate you, TN Jose. TN Jose got more in the donos than we had in the first almost 2 hours. You never know who's going to show up, and I appreciate you, man. Like I said, it's tough, doing this job full time, and to not have an ego, not to get your feelings hurt, and just keep grinding it out. A lot of people would quit, get frustrated, think that they're better than this, but like I said, you just never know who's going to show up and when. And it does get frustrating at times, but you certain things you can control and other things you cannot control. What do you want to see for photos, brother? Bang, bang. $5 holla. Cactus Jack loves it. O-Dog loves it. TN Jose, let me know what you want to see, brother. But, I mean, like I said, it shows you how hard I have to work to get. I mean, some days we're just naturally blessed with, like, so many people and crazy-ass numbers, and you get, like, a $1,300 dono, and you don't even know what to do with yourself. And then there's other times where you're grinding for 4 or 5 hours with barely anyone here, and you're sitting at, like, $10. It's depressing sometimes. No lie. To act like that shit isn't like, affecting things, like it, it's rough, but again, you can't let that dictate, and control your whole night. You can't let that, ruin the mood. Every day is different and you never know what to expect. And that's what makes this job kind of fun, but it also makes it a little nerve-wracking where, you just want to be able to have fun with people, have a good amount show up, and then hopefully get to a good number at the end of the night. And even though you can hope all you want, sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. So, but then when you have the big days, it makes up for the shit days. So you have to be appreciative of that. So. Thank you, TN Jose. Appreciate you. Means a lot, man. Because like I said, on the slow days, it's not like I have, 50 people in the room or hundreds in the room. It's like sometimes if those heavy hitters don't show up, we're fucked. Like that's just the bottom line. I mean, unless we get new heavy hitters that, step up or, it's not like I'm getting a whole lot of support of getting new people here, but I'm going to continue to do me and just hope that 2023 ends up being better to me than 2022. So thank you, brother. Another $5 holla. What do you want to see, bro? Let me know. You got two $5 donos. You're doing a dono train by yourself. I truly appreciate you more than you know. And especially on the slower days like this, the donos mean so much, because no one wants to grind for 4 or 5 hours and to be sitting at only a couple bucks. I mean, you know what I mean? Like you're putting in this time and effort and energy, and I appreciate that. Look at Tien Jose. Tien Jose is like, all right, this guy is definitely getting not enough support. Let's take care of him. $5, $5, $5. Thank you. It means a lot. Everyone has a choice on what they want to do. And Tien Jose, even if he only stays for a couple minutes, always supports, and it means a lot. I appreciate you tremendously. Thank you. Anything you want to see specifically, Tien Jose? It could be Marvel related. It could be, football related. Do you have anything specifically that you want to see? Yeah, and like I said, and I never will get depressed, based off numbers of people in the room, sub count or dono days. I don't let that affect my mood whatsoever. So I've gone through too many days like this for it to affect me. It's not like it's something brand new that's never happened to me before. Not really. All right. Well, let me go through some like old stuff so I can get you some Gronk and some Brady from the heyday times from back in the day. How's that sound? So that way I can still do the Mac Jones, but seeing some old school Brady Gronk was kind of cool. Well, you don't really get to see that too often on the channel. So I'll throw those ideas out there at you.
It is not easy. 10th floor, huh? Must be a heck of a view. Okay, see how everyone else is facing this way? Progressive can't save you from becoming your parents, but we can save you money. That was terrible. Okay, let's hang back. We're going to try that again.
Cashback 5% on travel perks through Chase with Freedom Unlimited. And 5 better plane seats. Switch to a king suite.
Move a silent retreat.
Silent retreat.
I appreciate that.
Chase Freedom Unlimited. No annuals. How did you catch that?
Imagine a world where potty training is fun, fast, and easy. Only pull-ups at Disney graphics that they would like to teach big kids to stay dry, so they're motivated to keep the music going.
Hey, my name's Paige, and what makes the Chick-fil-A
Slackers in the building. What to do?
to me is the crispiness of the
Oh yeah, that's not all his fault. And he'll be back. He'll go to the Raiders maybe for a year, maybe Niners for a year, and then he'll go in the booth. But I would assume he'll play for like a year or two. What's going on, Slackers? Anything that you want to discuss or talk about? Anything you want to see photo wise?
I love it. There's a taste of my childhood in every bite.
Yeah, we just talk NFL,
The things that happen
little MLB, NBA, wrestling, food, nostalgia, mental health. We go over a little bit of everything.
This is the game changer. I can finally meet somebody who understands my life and my situation. Download Stir today.
Hi, Susan. Honey,
Yeah.
I respect that, but that cough looks pretty bad. Try this Robitussin, honey.
The real honey you love, plus the powerful cough relief you need.
Mind if I root through your trash?
Robitussin, the only brand with real
Yeah,
honey.
I've been doing okay. I went through a little depression, anxiety like thing that I usually go through every year. I get it once or twice in the year, and I got it pretty bad for about 4 or 5 days. I didn't record, but I'm now on day 3, getting back into the swing of things, and it just feels good not to feel that way. And I live out here in the Northwest, so we have like that shitty weather and that seasonal depression, and that shit is so real, man. It's like, even though that, we had a day like right before, like when I was getting into the beginning stages of the depression and stuff, like Shep broke the dono record 1,300, and then we ended up hitting 1,527 total, $1,527 with like 10 people in the room, and that was like the second day where I was kind of feeling like shit. And most people would think, when that happens to you, you're going to be good, but after that, I still had about another 3 or 4 days where mentally I was not in a good space. And then finally, on that like 5th day of, me like really being not in a good space mentally, in a dark place, we finally got some sun. And even if it was only for like an hour or two, it made the difference. And then, I've been able to still continue to exercise, get outside, listen to music. And finally now I feel good. And it just seems like it happens to me. If you have like 2 or 3 weeks in a row with no sun, like that shit gets depressing. You know what I mean? And it's just, I need to be able to see the sun just a little bit. I don't need to have it out there all day, but I can't just have rain over and over and over. And then sometimes it just, especially if you have other struggles in your life, with friends or family and other things. So then you got all these other stresses going on and the weather's shitty and it just, but what I figured is like, okay, I got access to the dispensary. I'm not drinking anymore. What I need to do is just get more fucking pre-rolls and more gummies. So anytime I fucking feel, like this way, I can just do a couple gummies and that'll make me feel better. Or I can go for a walk and smoke a pre-roll or something. It's like, I just need to make sure that, if I'm feeling this way, I go to that. And if I go to that and then I still feel bad, then, then it's one thing. But I feel that if I end up, giving myself an opportunity to have a few boxes here, have, 2, 3, 4 pre-rolls just ready. So if I do get to a point where I just have one, or if I want to go for a walk, and that always makes shit better, makes the music better. You get relaxed. I don't think I've ever felt worse after smoking something really good or eating something really good here in the Northwest, since we have so many places. So your friend wanted to gamble on the Bills-Bengals. That's tough because the Bills could go to the Super Bowl this year and win against the Niners or Eagles, right? But they could also lose this game. And I think they would have lost in the game that DeMar, had the, cardiac arrest. I think the Bengals, to me, they've been playing the best football between the Bills and the Chiefs. And they've beaten the Chiefs 3 times, once this year, twice last year. I think they would have beat the Bills. I actually think the Bengals have a shot to win. Now, if they execute and they run the football and play good defense, and the Bills are reckless like they normally are, even though the Bills are at home, I could see the Bengals winning. I'm rooting for the Bengals personally, but I could see it go either way. That's the hardest game to call. I got the Niners winning, I got the Chiefs winning, I got the Eagles winning, but that game, it could literally go either way. A lot of people will pick the Bills because it's going to be at home and the crowd is going to be nuts. But if there's one team and one player that can match that intensity with Allen, it's Burrow. They're not afraid. You know what I mean? They made the Super Bowl last year when they weren't supposed to. So, if I'm betting, if you want to be a risk taker, I would be picking Niners, Eagles, and the Chiefs. Chiefs and Eagles could both win by 10 or more, maybe 7 or more at the very least, over the Giants and over the Jags. Cowboys could end up keeping it close, and they might lose by 3. Shit, they might lose by 13. You have to kind of see the flow of the game. But Niners, Chiefs, Eagles, and I think the only upset that you're going to get would probably be the Bengals. And if it's not the Bengals, then the only other team I think that could win is Dallas. But I don't think they're going to beat San Fran. They're the teams that play on Saturday, the Jags and Giants, to me, have no shot. I think that they're good teams, but sometimes when you go from being a good team and you played a shitty defense the week before, and then now you're playing a team that could be in the Super Bowl, Eagles and Chiefs, at some point you're just going to hit the wall. A great example was like Minneapolis Miracle. They had the throw, Diggs got it, right? They won the game, and they thought they were going to go all the way, but they gave up all their energy and their emotion in that game. They went to Philadelphia, and what happened? They got fucking slapped in the mouth and got their ass kicked and got blown out, and then the Eagles ended up winning the Super Bowl. So sometimes when you have these emotional wins and you're not supposed to be in the playoffs, sometimes your luck runs out because you end up playing the team, at home. You're on the road, you're playing the better team, and they're going to beat you. So now, could the Jags and Giants win? Of course. The Jags are the least likely team to win out of the 4 teams. And then the Giants, and then the Cowboys, and then the Bengals. But you never know.
See if you qualify at TurboTax.com.
Yeah. Like I said, we know Dallas has got a defense, and we know the Niners have a defense, but Dallas at home compared to Dallas on the road is different. Dallas on grass and Dallas on turf is a different story as well. You have to actually go back and look at home and away record and who they're playing. And obviously beating, my Buccaneers at 8-9, it's a win, the first win on the road since 93. So you got it. But now you're starting to play, the number 2 team and the number 1 team, if you can get that far, and to be able to beat San Fran or beat Philly, on the road, it's going to be the hardest thing for the team to do. But you guys are going in the right direction. Now, eventually, if you get Sean Payton and Dan Quinn, that's when you guys can win multiple games and win the Super Bowl, but you're just not there yet. But I definitely see that the Niners and Cowboy game being close because Dallas has the defense and Dak has been playing good. And then obviously the Jags and the Chiefs will be close probably. At least we hope it'll be close in the first half, and then they'll pull away in the second half. But hopefully it's still interesting. And same thing with the Giants and Eagles, where Saquon and some of their players like Kayvon Thibodeau, they'll play pretty good. But eventually you would just assume that the home teams are going to be able to pull away. But again, the better games are on Sunday. Bills, Bengals, must-see TV. That's the best game of the weekend. Second best game, Niners, Cowboys. And then the other two are just, then probably Eagles, Giants. And then the worst one will probably be Jags, Chiefs. Unless the Jags can, make Mahomes get like 2 or 3 picks. And then they can, have this crazy game down the wire. But to be down 27-0 and come back win 31-30 against a team that has no defense. And you can say, well, the Chiefs don't really got a defense. True. Chiefs, Bills, and Bengals defense is shaky at times. Sometimes they play like an 8 or a 9, but a lot of times those defenses in the AFC play like a 7. And the teams in the NFC, Cowboys, Eagles, Niners, play defense at a 10 level. So there is wiggle room, against the AFC teams, but I'm not sure if the Jags have that type of capability on the road after what they did already against the Chargers. It's one thing to beat the Chargers, or beat the Buccaneers, but what about beating someone that's a little bit better? We'll have to wait and see. So, and it's just people that are talking shit that are Niner fans or Cowboy fans overreacting or Niner fans overreacting. But it's a great rivalry, and it's much better that the Cowboys won. So that way we got Cowboys-Niners, the feud in the 80s and 90s, rather than shitty-ass Buccaneers playing against Niners and losing by 30. Because I already knew that the Dallas Cowboys are going to win that game. And it's like, if you don't have an O-line, you don't have Gronk, and you don't have a good defense, we were going to get fucking obliterated, and that's why I didn't even want to make the playoffs to begin with. So, yeah, but you should already know that talking heads are fucking morons. I feel that I got more smarts than most of those guys, and there's a reason why Peter Schrager and these guys watch me, even though I'm not famous yet, because they know I do the research, I watch the film, and I read more than most people. A lot of these people, they do fake analysis just to, tell you fake narratives to get you worked up. You know what I mean? Because they know if they said what we're thinking, that you're probably not listening to them. But if they say something crazy, like Dallas is going all the way, or, they have these certain narratives out there, or Giants are going to, make it to the NFC Championship game. Everyone can throw out the narrative. Some people believe it. Some people don't. Sometimes producers, sprinkle in this narrative for you to get clicks and get ratings. But let's be honest, a lot of the former players, a lot of the guys that cover the NFL on podcasts and TV are fucking morons. Just because you're a former player doesn't mean you're a good guy on the mic. You know what I mean? Just because you are a former player doesn't mean you're educated. There's a lot of guys that are fucking stupid, that can't talk, have no personality, or are fucking wrong. You know what I mean? They just scream and yell. And if you want to just listen to people that scream and yell that are loud, just because you're loud doesn't mean that you're correct. You know what I mean? Like a Stephen A. or like a Skip Bayless. But, it is what it is. But that's why I don't watch any of those shows. I'll watch Pat McAfee show, a little bit of The Herd, and that's it. No Good Morning Football, no Skip and Shannon. I don't watch any of those other programs because all that shit is fake to me. It's not real, Right. But this Cowboy team, like the reason why I feel the team is different, because I don't have bias. I don't hate the Cowboys. I don't hate the Patriots. So when I do my predictions, I have no attachment, even to my own team. Like if my team sucks, I'm not going to root for Tampa Bay just because it's Tampa Bay and my team. If they suck, why am I protecting them? You know what I mean? Just so because it's my team, you look like an idiot. It's like, oh, we're going to win everything. No, we're not. It's like, when your team is good and when your team is bad. But the number one difference between Dallas this year, we already know McCarthy sucks. Kellen Moore sucks overall based on what happened last year to the Niners calling the draw on the 50-yard line with no timeouts. That was one of the dumbest things ever. That probably cost Kellen Moore a couple coaching opportunities, right? But this year, they finally took my phone call and said, you know what? Tony Pollard is the better running back than Zeke. Let's give him a shot to be the one, or let's at least give him more looks. And after years and years of Zeke being the lead back, right, he can get you 1,000 yards, 1,200 yards, 1,300 yards, over 10 touchdowns. That's great. But when you got a guy like Tony Pollard, who's the RB2 that actually sees the holes better and gets 10 opportunities for 90 yards at a 9 yard per carry, and then you get Zeke 18 carries for 65 yards, at some point you got to be like, okay, Dak and Zeke are best friends, but this is not helping the team. So I think that Dallas finally figured it out, and they deserve to be able to have this success. And you got Dan Quinn, you got Micah Parsons, who might be the best defensive player in the league. So you're starting to see things start to kind of come into fruition. No Amari Cooper, and obviously you miss him. CD hasn't really proved that he can be the true number one. We know he's getting there, but he's still more of like a wide receiver 2 to me. That's a lot of pressure to be the one. Amari Cooper can handle that pressure, and obviously the team would even be better if it had Cooper, Gallup, right, and CD. And Noah Brown isn't that bad either, and Dalton Schultz is awesome. So, the narrative can be whatever, but I was talking about the Niners, like in September, October, even when the record wasn't good, where I thought that they could be the second best team or third best team. If you go back and check the videos and the receipts, I swear it's like no one does research. They just watch my video or watch people that do the research in the film study, and then they steal their opinion and act like they made it up. But yeah, anyone that thinks that the Cowboy game will get out of whack, maybe previous Cowboy teams, that it would maybe be a blowout, but it's not like the Cowboys don't have a defense. The one now with Maher missing the 4 extra points is concerning, especially if the game ends up being like 23-20 and the Cowboys play really good. Imagine the kicker missing at the end of the game or an extra point, and then you end up losing the game by 1, 2, or 3. That's the fear, to be like right there. You know what I mean? But even if you ended up, beating the Niners, realistically, right, if Jalen is healthy, it's almost impossible to win in Philly. Like if the game is in Dallas, we know you can win there. But when Dallas goes to Philly, you know what happens. Usually you try to keep it close, but within the first couple quarters, but sometimes it gets out of hand and you don't have enough time to come back. And obviously we know both defenses are good, but the Eagles defense in Philadelphia with those drunk fans, especially in a big game like an NFC Championship game, I'm not saying it's impossible, but the chances of the Niners or Cowboys winning in Philadelphia at Philadelphia, it's going to be very difficult. You're going to have to literally play one of the best games of the entire season right there and have a little bit of luck as well. And even with that being said, you might lose, but you got the teams that are the most well-balanced in the NFC. Cowboys, Niners, Eagles, they all have offense and defense, right? Chiefs, Bengals, Bills have Hall of Fame quarterbacks, but their defenses aren't really that good. And honestly, the defense that's the best out of the 3 is the Bengals. So I feel if you're the Bills and the Chiefs, you're like probably right now fearing playing that team because you know that they could go all the way. They may not win it, but Burrow and the Bengals are maybe pushing a narrative that maybe Joe Burrow is Joe Montana. Maybe he doesn't have the Super Bowl wins yet, but everyone talked about the Bills, the Chiefs. Nobody's talked about the Bengals, I feel, besides me in the last 2 months, where I thought that this team, if they get hot and healthy, they might be able to be a little bit better than people think as like the third best team, in the AFC. And obviously right now the Bills and the Chiefs, they don't really have an answer for the Bengals. Samaje Perine, Mixon, they both are physical runners, and they're going to run the football, and you can't stop it. So when you have a team that runs the football, you can't stop it, then you get a 10-point lead. Look at how the play calling changes when the Bengals are up 10-0 on the Bills or 10-0 on the Chiefs. The play calling isn't like the best. Like, normally you're like, oh my God, when the Bills and Dorsey, or you're starting to see, this, for the Chiefs, when you watch, you're like, oh, these guys are cooking, ring around the rosy and doing all that. But when they get down, they don't look normal. They don't look like the Chiefs. They get like in desperation mode. And then that's exactly what the Bengals want. So I don't really know what scenario we're going to get. But, I mean, the best 6 teams right now is clear. Cowboys, Niners, Eagles, Bills, Bengals, Chiefs. But I can't put the Cowboys as being like a Super Bowl contender just because this is the first year that they actually got to the playoffs and won a game. Now, if they can win this next game, then we're right there in that category. Yeah, you could be that team that takes the Niners spot. But, sometimes you got to crawl before you walk. Just because you won against the Buccaneers, you can't get overly excited and think you're going to go all the way. That's not realistic. Could it happen? Of course. But realistically, looking at all the other teams, how probable is that scenario that Dallas goes all the way after not really winning a playoff game on the road since 93. Sometimes you just got to win one, the next year win two, then the next year try to get to the NFC Championship game. Sometimes you overachieve and you go all the way like early, like when Tampa got Brady and Gronk. I didn't think they were going to go all the way the first year. I thought maybe year 2 or year 3, but you can always be surprised. And it's not like I feel the Cowboys don't have a team as good as the Niners or Eagles. They're right there, especially with Dan Quinn, best defensive coordinator, and Micah Parsons, probably the best defensive player in the league this year, one of the, right? But with that being said, Dak on the road, especially against a stout Niner D and a stout Eagle D, that's not easy. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's going to be fun, but it's going to be a very, very difficult process. But yeah, I can see the Jags getting blown out. The Giants get blown out. I definitely think the Niners and Cowboys will be close, and the Bengals and Bills will be close. And honestly, those two games could end up, whoever has the ball last wins the game. It could end up being where both teams are scoring on each other and making plays, and then also, running in mud a little bit. You know what I mean? Tony Pollard and Zeke and run CMC, and they're trying to get loose, but the defenses are so good. But eventually, those guys are going to get loose. Even with those defenses being so good, you're not going to contain run CMC the whole game, and you're not going to stop Pollard and Zeke the whole game. They're going to get loose, but it just depends on who's got the better game plan, the better coaching, who's got the better O-line, D-line, defense, coaching, and play calling. That's what really is going to decide those games, in my opinion. But that's why I don't watch a lot of those other shows, because a lot of those guys on TV and the podcast, they're terrible. You know what I mean? They're not good. And I mean, a lot of people don't watch that shit anymore. I honestly feel more people watch people like me here on like YouTube or Twitch than they watch people on those shows. I think a lot of people are kind of fed up, with those shows, and they're not really into them anymore. And like I said, I try to be genuine and real, and Pat, is genuine and real, and that's why his show is so successful. You know what I mean? You get all these people that are fake. It's not really a fun watch, Even Skip and Shannon is not really watchable to me. Like every once in a while, maybe I'll click over, but I just don't like negativity and arguing and just fake fights and fake debates. You know what I mean? Just to fill the 3-hour slot. I don't know. It's stupid. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? Especially with all the haters, obviously globally, and there's no reason to hate. And for me, I try to spread that awareness. It's like, okay, you hate the Cowboys or you love the Cowboys. The bottom line is whether you love them or you hate them, they're a fun team to watch. They're a lot funner to watch in Tampa. So for anyone thinking like, you want Tampa to go? No, I don't want Tampa to go. It was the perfect scenario for you guys to finally get you off the schneid, beating a shitty team like me. And then now you have an opportunity to beat a legit Super Bowl team. You know what I mean? You may not do it this year, but, as long as Dan Quinn stays, hopefully for your case, and if you can add a Sean Payton and you have Sean Payton and Dan Quinn, that could be the combo that gets you guys to the Super Bowl and you could win. But if you don't get a Sean Payton kind of coach, then, you're only going to be able to go so far. By Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett had his moments. Sometimes it seemed like he was a horrible coach, but let's be honest, sometimes he coached really well too. But again, when you have guys that were formerly there, and if you can't recognize who your best players are, it's just crazy to me that it took this long to realize, like, they should have stat and analytical guys on the sideline. Like, look, okay, we gave Pollard 10 carries. He's at 100 yards. We've given Zeke 20. He's at 67. Wouldn't it make sense to give maybe Pollard 5 extra and then maybe 5 less for Zeke to see what he can get? And they started to do that. And then when Zeke got hurt, we saw Pollard, get all the carries, 20 to 25, and he was amazing. So it just, sometimes you just have to find the right combination of the offensive line and the players. Even when Dak went hurt, Cooper, oh, what a rush, played well. The defense is good. You know what I mean? Offensive line is shaky at times and could be better. That might be your weak spot. Some of the pieces on the defense and the O-line, but overall, this team is better than in the other teams in the previous couple years. So sometimes you got to crawl before you walk, and you might be able to win. But if you guys lose, I wouldn't be upset. You got your first win on the road since '93. You can be like, we won. Like, you can't make fun of us anymore. Like, whether you want to be like, well, they're 8-9. A win is a win. You blew us out. Good job. You know what I mean? And now it's just trying to feed off that first win, and then I think less and less people will stop talking about the Cowboys being chokers. You know what I mean? Like, now the Chargers kind of took your role. It's like the Chargers and Cowboys could never win, but now you broke the schneid. So now we're not going to talk about you anymore in that light. Now it's the Chargers. Like now we have to see if Sean Payton maybe can go there to get them out of the gutter because their defense sucks. They never can stop the run. You get 3 picks with Asante Samuel Jr., and then you let Trevor Lawrence come back after 4 picks and then throw 4. I mean, that's unexcusable. And Staley's a garbage coach too, and I've been saying that for years. So, yeah. I mean, shit. Even Washington would have been a better choice than Tampa. I'm not stupid. I mean, their football team was better than ours, but having 3 teams, win games and get this far, it's amazing, man. It's awesome. Yeah, but that's my opinion of it. Because like I said, I don't look at the league like everyone else. And I think that's why people respect me because I see things from like, your perspective. So if someone's a Cowboy fan, I can feel what you're feeling. I think how you think. And I can also give you kind of my input as an outsider looking in. But I don't have any hate for the Cowboys or the Patriots like 99% of America does. I don't feed into that propaganda on NFL Network or ESPN or Fox Sports 1. If you're good, you're good. If you're not, then you're not. But I really like what Dallas has done, and they've been great this year. They've been fun to watch, and like I said, you might be the 3rd best team in the NFC this year, but you're trending in the right direction. You know what I mean? That's a good sign for Cowboy fans. You know what I mean? Like, of course, the ultimate goal is to get to the Super Bowl, but it's a lot better feeling than having all this hype every year. This is our year. This is our year. This is our year. And you keep saying that this is our year for the last 20 years. And then you just know at the end of the year, you're going to choke or something stupid is going to happen. But now that's in the rear view, window. Now you can be like, we finally won. You know what I mean? Now, you're still going to get the haters being haters because they're always going to bring up, oh, it was Tampa. Oh, they're 8-9. You guys still suck, because they just want to be an asshole. But for people that recognize greatness, you guys have done a great job. And the shitty thing is that this is saving McCarthy and Kellen Moore's jobs. So if you want to move on, you're not going to be able to because you guys are having success with those guys. It's not like Jerry's going to be like, well, they were 12-5. They won a playoff game. Let's fire these guys, right? But if I had a choice between McCarthy and Kellen Moore or, Sean Payton, I'm going Sean Payton. You know what I mean? So. Oh, absolutely. I mean, they used to be the NFC least, and now they're the NFC beast. But a big part of it, let's be honest, right, was, Saquon Barkley being healthy for the year. So if you have guys like Run CMC and Saquon, if you play fantasy, last couple of years they've been getting hurt and no one wants to draft them because if you draft them, they're probably going to get hurt, right? But this year, Run CMC, Christian McCaffrey, and Saquon stayed healthy. And now look at both of their teams are still, there. And if Saquon wasn't healthy for a majority of the year, there's no way in hell Dayball gets that team to the playoffs. Someone else gets the spot. You know what I mean? Saquon has played fantastic this year, just like Josh Jacobs and Nick Chubb and a few of these guys, very, very reliable, right? Dayball's done a good job. The defense has been pretty good, but, their heart and soul of that team ain't no fucking Danny Dimes. It's Saquon. Because Saquon at any given moment can get loose and give you that energy. And, when he's healthy, CMC and Saquon, you could argue, are the top 2, running backs when healthy, when they're in a groove. They're almost unstoppable. I mean, there's even teams that have good defenses have struggling times with those guys. I think CMC is a little bit better than Saquon just because he's a better pass catcher. I think you have a little bit more upside with McCaffrey. Harder to stop. Brian Danielson with the high knee. Danny in the building. What to do? Yeah, we're just chilling. I mean, like I said, I'm not doing any live play-by-play. I'm not doing an NBA game. I'm not doing NFL or college football. I'm just watching AEW Dynamite replay, and we're just talking about the NFL divisional game. So, we're not doing anything crazy here. This is more of just kind of a filler stream throughout the week where we just talk about food and sports and NFL and mental health. So, just to kind of give you a breakdown, and then I just try to throw up HD photos of, things that we're talking about, or I'll throw up a couple Cowboy photos up here for you, slackers. All right, let me throw up. Yeah, but I really feel the Tony Pollard switch. That's what flipped the switch for you guys. It's not like I think Zeke sucks, but I think everyone can see it. It's like his numbers have been declining every year, and he's not the same running back as he was in his rookie year, and you don't have the same offensive line anymore either. I mean, especially when you got 3 Pro Bowlers on the line early in the career. That's one thing, but it's not really the same offensive line anymore. But it's just awesome to be able to see an RB2 get love. And I think a lot of us as fans looking on the outside, looking in, I think a lot of us do believe Tony is better. He's the better back, and he has been for the last couple of years, but they're just finally realizing it. And I know it's really political, you know what I mean, with Zeke and Dak, because they're like best friends, but I don't know who slipped the note to McCarthy more or Jerry Jones, but if they didn't make this switch on giving him more looks, I don't think the Cowboys are as good this year. The defense is good, but you got to be able to run the football. And, Zeke dances too much. He goes left to right. He likes to, shimmy and shake, kind of like a Barry Sanders, but not as good, right? It's like either negative 2 yards, a 2-yard gain, a 3-yard gain, every once in a while, a nice 17-yard gain. But it's just a lot of short gains. But with Pollard, he doesn't dance around. He sees the hole, puts his foot down, and goes. And that's why he usually gets 6 yards per carry, 8 yards per carry. And his gains are 8 yards, 7 yards, 14 yards, 50 yards. You just never know when he's going to get loose because he doesn't dance around and he sees the hole better. Now, goal line back, you could argue Zeke is the better goal line back. I won't argue that, right? And from the 20 to the 20s, Zeke can still let one loose and go deep. But I think it's just very clear, you need to give Tony Pollard more looks. They have in the passing game and running game, and you guys have had success when you guys have done that. So, oh yeah, and then you got Luka. I'm not sure if you're a Maverick fan, but obviously having Luka, that's probably the most entertaining player to watch game in and game out. You got Embiid and you got Giannis and all these other players, but it's hard to argue Luka may be the best player in the NBA, not named Giannis. And some people prefer Luka over Giannis, and I don't blame them, And also the Dak narrative. I've always liked Dak, and a lot of people were never, because he's on the Cowboys. But again, I'm not a hater. I just look at talent, and I just thought it was silly for everyone to think that Dak is just not a good player. But when you start to see numbers like 4 touchdowns and, rushing for 1, accounting for 5. Yes, it was against a garbage Tampa Bay defense, but still, right? Some people thought Dak was going to choke in that game and throw a couple picks, and I knew he wouldn't. You know what I mean? Dak most of the time plays like a top 10 quarterback, but people just want to hate because he's on the Cowboys. It's just bottom line. I would take Dak on Tampa, and he's gotten better every year. He used to have problems from the 20 to the 20. He used to have problems on 3rd down. He used to have problems in the red zone. You know what I mean? But he's progressively gotten better and better. But again, offensive line is really key. Defense getting Dan Quinn helped. They don't have all the pieces yet. Still, the offensive line needs work, in my opinion. And there's a few defensive spots that could be improved. But overall, they're right there with the Eagles and Niners for top 3 teams in the NFC, in my opinion. So, Cowboys, Mavs, and Stars. Nice. Modano back in the day. Mike Modano. Old school. Brett Hull. Old school players. Mario Lemieux. Wayne Gretzky. The old school days. You watch a lot of hockey, Slackers, or no? Yeah. I mean, like I said, it could end up being, field goals either way, but also I wouldn't be shocked if the Niners ended up winning by 10 or more, because like I said, they can pour it on at the right time. And so it might be close in the first half, you know what I mean? Like a 14-10 game. But then at some point in the 3rd and 4th quarter, the Niners at home are going to explode, just like that the Eagles will, and that the Chiefs will. The Bills and the Bengals, that one is the hardest one to call because most people are just going to be like Bills, but what's the likelihood that all 4 teams at home win? There's going to be at least one team on the road that gets that away sleeper win, and probably the Bengals are that team. But if I had to choose another team, it would probably be Dallas would be my second team. I just can't see the Giants or the Jags winning. But again, that's why we watch these games, because you just never really know. And also when you give a lot of your emotion the week before, and then you end up playing a team that has no defense to a team that does have a defense, Like you get a lot of these Cowboy fans that get like really overly excited beating Tampa. But again, you're not going to be able to put up 30 or 40 on San Fran. At least most people don't think that's possible, right? But if you do, then yeah, you probably should win at that point. But I just can't really see that happening. Having a good defense and someone putting up. It's like the Giants going into Philly and putting up 35. It's like, do we really think that's going to happen? I mean, if Jalen Hurts is injured, maybe. But I don't know. I just can't really see that happening personally. So.
Speaking of hotel, tonight I face with it. I'm sure and everyone else exactly.
Ah, nice.
Exactly, and you stay back.
Yeah. And like I said, it's like, even though I don't watch hockey on a regular basis, I used to play the video games, NHL 94, NHL 95 on the Genesis, on the PlayStation 2. So I got a lot of memories from growing up, with a lot of the old school players, and obviously buying the hockey cards, because I bought football cards, but I also bought hockey cards back then. That's a good old time. And they don't have as many of the legends now with Jaromir Jagr, Mario Lemieux, Wayne Gretzky, Chris Chelios, Mike Modano, Brett Hull. Like, I don't know why I remember a lot of the Patrick Waugh. I don't know why I remember a lot of those names, but I do. It's just like when you played those games so often, the memorization of those guys, even though I haven't even thought about a lot of those guys for years and years and years, but you still remember. So, yeah, very cool. I still got a lot of stuff recorded on VHS and boxes from like old games back from like the 80s and 90s. Not a lot of people have a VCR still, so that's facts. Heck yeah. You got a favorite Cowboy player from back in the day, Slackers?
Catch up on his shows. Rewatch your favorite movies. And even stream live sports. Watch it all with your fellowship.
A very happy match, indeed.
See where it takes you. Prime Video. There are a lot of things that make Oregonians stand out. Like our love of nature, food, recreation.
This is my guy.
Of walking, riding,
That's my guy, baby.
rolling, everywhere, no matter the season or the weather. And the darker
Oh, that's good.
the more we love to stand out together.
Yeah, Dirk was a legend too. I got to see Dirk in Portland a couple times and stuff. So, I mean, you got to make sure you take advantage, when you can with some of those guys. You don't realize like how special some players are until they're gone.
Not with Frog Tape. Frog Tape is the only painter's tape treated with paint block technology. Paint block reacts with the water in latex paint to form a micro.
Yeah, my first graded card was an Emmitt Smith score supplemental rookie card. Still have it to this day. It's worth like $80 to $100 PSA 9, but it's just really special, to me. And most of my cards are baseball and basketball for the more expensive stuff, but the Emmitt is always something that, I'm kind of particular to. I can't sell it. It's like I watched him at Florida, and everyone's gonna have their guys, but obviously Emmitt, Aikman, and Irvin. I mean, it almost doesn't get any better than that. I don't know if it'll ever get any better than that. Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Irvin. I don't know if you're ever gonna have a quarterback, running back, wide receiver combo as impactful as that ever again. I mean, it's one of the best trios of all time, and it's like not even debatable.
See if you qualify at turbotax.com.
Yeah, but I remember when I ended up buying the rookie card, it was around the time where he was going to break the record. So I was like, all right, I should buy something. It's like, I always get like, the top guys, Barry Sanders, and I just try to buy rookie cards instead of buying like boxes. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe I should invest in this Emmitt. And I looked through like 30 different Emmitt Smith rookie cards, but I wanted to find like a rare one, one that had a certain look to it. And let me see if I can find the card here. I'll show you. But this is one of his best ones, in my opinion. This is the card that I have. I have it in a 9, not a 10, but this is a clean card. Like if you're going to get an Emmitt Smith rookie card, this would be the one to get to start off. But this is the one that I own right here. It's got the Giants in the background. This is a beautiful card. It definitely gives you those vibes of like 89, 90, 91 score, for the football. And And they got a nice photo on the back, too, of Emmett. And then I'll show you the other really good one to have. Super rare, hard to find, and the 1990 Action Pact. This one was a very cool brand because it had a card. When you touched it, it was like the player was embossed. So when you put your finger on the card, it was flat on the gold part, but when you put your finger on the player, it was like lifted. So it was squishy, and you could like touch the player, and you could feel the pads on him, and it was like the card was lifted. It's like they almost had the card, and then they had the Emmett Smith and like glued him on top of the card. And I know they didn't do that, but it's what it feels like because the card is it's lifted as far as the player on top of the background of the card. It's very cool. If you've ever seen the Action Pack, they didn't do them for very long. They're very rare to get in good condition. A lot of the edges would get fucked up and stuff, but these are two. I don't even own this one. This will be one that I do own one day, but I own this one, and this one's a very special card to me. There you go, July 22nd. Nice. I'll see if I can show you the back of the card too, of the one that I got. Here we go. So the front of the card we saw is here, and then check out the back. The back is actually really dope too. I always look for little subtle details, like I want to be able to see stuff that has like photos on the back, and some cards back in the day didn't have the photos, but look at this one here. So there's the back, the 101T. We got a nice little photo of him, little information of him at like Florida. So that's the type of shit that I look for. Those special cards, and some of them don't have the photos on the back, but I love the cards that have the photos on the back from back in the day, like in the 80s and 90s. Very clean.
Soraya was very angry, as we just saw, and I called him Sheeta and the so-called AEW originals, the homegrown women here from All Elite Wrestling. Nightingale tried to escape the side headlock there by Tony Storm.
I may delete some of these other photos here.
Good job again, even though Tony Storm, doesn't have the same height that someone like Willow has, but still the headlock takedown, the footwork, the technique.
All right, Sarah, where do we want to go? Slackers, Sarah, anything that you guys want to go over and look at? Like I said, we're nowhere near where we need to be goal-wise. It's been kind of a slow day. I'm not ready to tap out really just yet. So I want to make sure I put in maximum effort. And if we still, end up not getting there, then that happens. But at any point, Sarah, if you want to dip, between now and that 4-hour mark, but I'm probably going to try to push here for another 30 minutes to an hour just to see if anyone else will show up in this last hour, which does happen from time to time. And if it happens, great. And then if not, then at least I put in the work, and sometimes that's all you can do. You can only put in the effort. And if people show up, they show up. If they don't, then there's nothing I can do, And then we just got to go at it tomorrow. And then that'll be a new day, a new opportunity. I'm just glad I don't have the depression and anxiety and shit anymore. That was a really fucking rough 5 days. Not enjoyable whatsoever. I hate feeling like that too. It's not a good feeling. All right, breakfast food. Let's do it. Yeah, water, snow, mountains, landscape, food. And of course, I can always look at the, football players, wrestlers, stuff like that. But nostalgia is always good. But God, food is always money. And hopefully we'll get a goat or two to show up here in the last hour. It's happened before.
We make everything flow. Get it today, make your taste buds dance.
remember that chapter of my life forever. We laughed. We cried. We protected that progressive home and all we bundled day and night. We left our blood, sweat, and tears on that yard.
Oh yeah, it's the hardest thing to do, man. Like, look at me, dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've been grinding on this dream for fucking 10 years. If you're sitting at 20,000 subscribers, it's ridiculous to have less than 20 people in the room. Like, when you have that many people, if they actually are getting the notifications, you should, if you have 20,000 people that are actually looking at your notifications and they're actually getting sent every day, I should have no less than 50 to 100 people at all times in the room, no matter what I do. Right. But of course, when they, you know, don't help you out or they don't send out any notifications, like if you have 20,000 people and they send out 10 notifications, I mean, that's how fair is that? I mean, I get it, new analytics and metrics and everything, but you know, a lot of times it's like, I feel like they try to really put the pressure on to see if someone will break or crack or quit. You know what I mean? But it also makes it special too. You know, when you can break, you know, history and break numbers like other bigger channels do that have thousands in the room, and I can make as much as them with 10 people in the room, you know, so that's what makes it kind of special. You just got to be able to have the work ethic. You got to believe in yourself and you got to hold yourself accountable. It's the hardest thing to do in life is like, there's so many other options that we would rather do, drink and smoke and party and watch TV, play on our phone, rather than do something like work out or, you know, try to work on our goals and read and, you know, do things that aren't necessarily fun at the time. But, you know, if you are willing to put in the work, right, you will be able to have success. You know, if you have a great work ethic, you're going to be successful. You have to stick with it. You know, I mean, I'll tell you, there's a lot of people back in the day that didn't believe in me, you know, that still don't believe in me today, you know, but now what can you say now? I'm full-time. I've been full-time for a year now. So if you thought that I couldn't make it or I wasn't going to make it or hope that I fail, I mean, I've already accomplished the inevitable or the, you know, the impossible, you know, thinking that I wouldn't be able to make this a full-time thing. And, you know, yeah, it took fucking 10 years and now I'm on year 11. This will be year 7 on YouTube, but I've been recording for 11. I mean, it's not like it fucking happened after year 1. It was a lot of drama and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And I'm still only like 1% in, you know, to the journey. But, you know, as long as you are positive and you're committed and, you know, you hold yourself accountable and obviously looking at the goals in front of you, like on the fridge, you know, that's a good spot to have them on. You can have them like in a desk, you know, or, you know, somewhere in a planner. But I feel that if you have them up on the wall or like on the fridge where you go often, you're more capable of, you know, making those goals to be completed. You have to go somewhere where you're going to be, you know, and see that. And obviously everyone loves going in the kitchen, in the fridge, right? So it's tough. It's tough, but you know, and on top of that, you know, with like mental health and depression and anxiety, and then, you know, not getting subs that I think I should get and not getting views, not getting donut. I mean, there's so many things where if I just wanted to, you know, give up on things, you know, of course I could just be like, this is not fair and it's never going to get better, if, you know, but again, you know, you just have to be able to know your time is coming, and not everyone's window is going to be different, but I know eventually it's, you know, going to be one of those things. I don't need a lot of people, you know, but I would enjoy more people, more conversations, more sub count opportunities, more dono opportunities, and then I could give back more to more fans. That's the ultimate goal. But you know, breaking barriers and proving to people that, you know, even with a very little amount of people in the room every day, 20 people or less, if you have the right 20 people or less in the room, you can still make it, you know, but it's not common, but it is possible. Makes me feel special in that regard. Because I don't know any other channel that's got less than 20 people in the room on a daily basis that's been able to make it full time. I mean, there's a lot of people that have, you know, 50, 100, thousands. And if you got that many people, of course, you know, you're going to have some heavy hitters that are going to be able to pay your rent and pay your bills. But when you get to a small amount, I mean, it's almost impossible to go full time without 50 to 100 people minimum in the room. Some people have to have thousands. So, and that's the truth. But I feel like I'm not like a regular person either. So it's, you know, people appreciate the hard work that I put in, and it makes me feel good. So. Plus, also, too, you have to have a team, you know, and being able to have someone that can help me with the thumbs and having someone like Sarah that's always committed. If I didn't have that, then you're further back, because then you have to be able to have a team atmosphere. And some people just won't try to do everything on their own, but you're never going to be successful unless you actually have more of a team effort. You got to be able to have a couple people that have your back that are going to be in your corner. If you don't, it's going to be a long fucking ride. It's going to be very difficult. You can still do it, but I mean, most people don't get through with everything in life by themselves. They have to have help at some point. So. Now, if you make this comment on another stream, you probably get beat up. Okay. But when you make the comment here, I gladly will put it up because I don't care. I'll put up anything as long as it won't get me in trouble. Boom. He said for no reason why. I had their CD back in the day. I had the NSYNC CD back in the day, 98 Degrees. I had all that shit back in the day. I mean, I listened to a bunch of types of music back in the day, but I had Green Day, the Dookie album, Aerosmith. I had a little bit of everything. Back when like MTV and like BET actually showed like music videos, like they don't even do that shit anymore. It's like you can't even really see music videos on VH1 or BET, or if they do have it, it's on like early in the morning or a specific time at night. Instead of now, it's all like baby mama drama and Teen Mom and all these like fucking shows and Jersey Shore reunion stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I watched the first season of Jersey Shore when it was like a new thing. I was like, look at these fucking Guido people beating each other up and getting drunk and acting crazy. But then after the first couple seasons, I stopped watching. But I know there's certain people that even to this day, they've watched like every episode. I mean, once you already see a year or two of that chaos, you're, I mean, what else am I supposed to see? I've already seen it all. I've already seen them beat up people or get beat up and get arrested and get drunk and say stupid things. And, oh yeah, TRL, Carson Daly. I enjoyed BET 106 in Park back in the day. Big Tigga, they had some, and then Roxy after that with AJ. But they had some, because that's back when like Ludacris was like coming in, and like I love Ludacris, and I feel he's like very underrated as a rapper and based off his wordplay. But just remembering that time period in like the 90s and the early 2000s. Yeah, it definitely was a different vibe back then than what it is now, for sure.
See if you qualified at TurboTax.com. COVID-19 moves fast, and now you can too by asking your provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Treatments must be taken within 5 days from when symptoms start. So if you're at high risk and test positive, don't wait. Ask about treatment right away.
The appeal of Tavala for me was just being able to scan a recipe and being able to eat the food in 20 minutes. Tavala meals are delivered fresh to your door, no hassle. All you do is open your meal, scan it on the oven. It makes me feel really happy that I don't have to clean. I mean, who doesn't want to have a personal chef? It's really good.
Tavala, your secret weapon for impossibly convenient home cooking. Browse this week's meals at Tavala.com.
This is a keepsake fridge. This is actually a photo from my wedding. I'm Adam Weiss, founder and CEO of Keepsake.
I really like this next one. This next one, it's like I haven't seen pancakes like this fluffy. I need these. These ones look good.
Here's a photo that you love. You can preview it in over 100 frames, and in a couple of days, you're going to receive your photo in a beautiful handmade frame. So if you've got a
Look at that, the thickness and the pancakes there. I mean, yeah, sign me up for those. I know some people love that shit. You know what I mean? It's entertaining. I get it. You know what I mean? But I think I've seen so many of them already that I don't know. I don't even really watch MTV as a network anymore. So I think if maybe I did, then that's something that maybe I could tune into. But I think just with what I got going on, I just got so many other programs that I would rather watch. At least, now if there wasn't anything on, maybe I would, click over at some point or something. But yeah, I kind of lost interest after the first couple seasons. But back when it first came out, I watched every Gym Tan Laundry. I mean, I was watching it. I was like, dude, these guys are fucking crazy. Like, but it also kind of gave you that idea of that type of lifestyle and what was going on. So everyone's had their little party moments, and whether you loved them or you hated them, they knew how to party hard. That's for sure. And some of them have had some pretty good success. I know Mike ended up going to prison and stuff, but Paulie D doing the DJ thing. So some of them have, been pretty fucking successful, making a name for themselves. I probably would assume Paulie D is the most successful one out of all of them, even though Snooki and you had some of these other, personalities. But YouTube killed MTV. Cabs is here. Gym Tan Laundry. How's it going now, JT? Missed you, man. It's been a few days. How are you doing? Been slow today, but still grinding and just trying to promote some good mental health and talk a little football, food, and watching some AEW and Cab's here. It's funny how I remember that shit still, too. The best one is when South Park made fun of Jersey Shore and they did the Jersey Shore episode on South Park. That shit is hilarious. If you have ever seen it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, go on YouTube afterwards and watch. It is incredible. It's a jazzy thing. They kind of did Snooki dirty, making it into like a crazy animal. But so many of the things in the cartoon are like so spot on. They're like so spot on, but man, it's so good. If you get a chance to watch it, it's like 30 minutes, so it's so worth it. I mean, and South Park's new season is actually starting up pretty soon in next month. So I don't watch South Park like my friend Justin. Like, I watch all the other cartoons like Simpsons, King of the Hill, but he is religious to South Park, and he has been since he was like a little kid, and he always will keep up on it. He hasn't missed an episode. So that's like the way that I watch the Simpsons, he watches South Park. And I'll probably tune in. Obviously, South Park obviously kind of pushes the boundaries, but it's funny. It still makes me laugh. Like Family Guy and South Park are like raunchy and shit, but they still go so over the top, like crazy with their, one-liners and what they do. Like it's almost impossible not to laugh to Family Guy or South Park once in a while. You're not laughing a lot, but there'll probably be a couple laughs in each episode, depending on what it is. But Jersey news. It's Sting. You got anything specific that you want to see at all? Not JT. You got anything sport related, food related, anything that you've been reading about? Or I mean, the only thing that I gave out as a recommendation right now is if you're looking for a new show to watch, based off the video game, The Last of Us just came out, and it got the best ratings for a new show besides the Game of Thrones spinoff in the last like 10 years. So it's everything is like a 9 to 9.4, 9.8. So I haven't seen it, but anything like post-apocalyptic, zombies, end of the world scenario, obviously is going to be awesome, and I'm going to watch that shit. And I haven't watched it yet, but I'm definitely going to try to. Evan's here.
His resilience is no secret, but Taz, you know better than most. Darby he has his limits. Yeah, he does. Yeah, that's the thing. He does. I mean, back in the day with Team Taz, we dealt a lot, obviously, for those AEW fans I remember.
Gibbs here.
Darby and with Sting. So, yeah, Darby's a dangerous athlete for sure. I mean, he's a TNT champion. He loves being that champion. He's making a great champion. It's going to be tough, Siobhan. It's going to be tough to topple him, but if anybody can, maybe it's your man, Kushida can. I think you're right when you say he's a great champion. He's a champion.
A bunch of crazies and a bunch of crazy behavior. Like people like that, that's uncontrollable people when they're drunk. No, all the craziness. But at least if you have people with you, at least you know you're not going to get like totally like stomped on and like beat up. Like you're going to have at least another one or two drunk buddies with you that if anyone starts a fight, that at least there's going to be, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, rather than 1-on-5. I just talked about that too. No, he's out now. I think it was like tax evasion. How the hell I know that? I have no idea, but I just read a lot. So anytime I see stuff, pop culture, I remember it. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that he's out. The situation. Mike.
Sometimes we forget about Darby Allin's amateur wrestling background.
Well, he does. He was a really good youth wrestler, and so that in itself, that stays with you. If you start at a young age, no matter if you continue, it does stay with you. You learn, especially when you're young, learning that nice single with that vibe. She looks like blocks the other leg gets down as he looks that ankle.
He's like, I'm out of jail, boy.
Darby is a daredevil and is leather tough, but when it gets right down to wrestling in the ring,
shut up, really? What did he do? Was like getting sued by like the girlfriend or the roommate or something? I thought you were going to say, oh, I saw him on Cops.
Any grappler realizes that. There we go. So he's going to single out that lip. Yeah, that hoverboard lock, the double wrist lock, the Kimura, however you want to refer to it, it's been so effective for Kushida in the past. And now he's got Darby pinned as Sting looking on as well as members of the New Japan Pro Wrestling LA Dojo in the corner of Kushida. Maybe separating the shoulder of Darby Allin.
Well, Apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. Like, when you keep doing that shit and you've been burning people for money, right? And he owed his landlord. Yeah. So was he like squatting or something and he owed money and he wasn't leaving? That's crazy. Did you laugh when you saw it? You're probably like, oh my God. You're like, no, you're like, I'm not surprised.
This is Jobber Enhance Select. It's more than just a hearing aid. It's a smart hearing solution that makes hearing aids more convenient and less expensive. With Jopra and Select, better hearing doesn't have to start in the doctor's office. It starts with our free online hearing test. From there, you can fine-tune your settings with your remote audiology.
Yeah. Well, she probably looked at the track record. Oh, fucked over this person, this person, this person. Yeah. You know, you're not gonna rule in his favor at that point. So you got to get out of here. Pay back the money. That'd be a horrible way to, like, you know, go through life. Like, you know, because imagine, you know, at some point you're gonna need help, right? And if you burn everyone, you know, no one's ever gonna help you. And at some point, like, what do? You just keep moving, or you just keep moving to different places, and then what? Go to jail and then move somewhere else, and so you can't stay in that same place that you grew up in, or right? You have to move away because everyone knows you. You owe everyone money there, right? Should I listen here, Leroy? Guilty. Yeah, we broke you saw, I don't know, on the ticker that I had a little 5-day, stint there with like no recording and had some depression, anxiety stuff, but we broke the single donation record from 500 5 different times to 1,300 from Shep, which was crazy. And then we hit $1,527, which broke that overall stream record. That was just last week. So that was pretty incredible. Wasn't expecting anything like that. Sucked having the kind of depression, anxiety for like 4 or 5 days, but I'm on day 3 of feeling good, getting back on track. So I'm already past that. And I feel as long as the sun comes out a little bit here in Oregon, I won't get, it's only when we get 7, 8, 9, 10, 14 days of rain. And sometimes that shit is, it's just tough to get over that and stuff. Plus with other things going on, it definitely can complicate things, but. And we're still getting rain here almost every day, but at least we're getting a little bit of sun breaks, which is good for my mental health. So.
Two hard-hitting shows together on one night, only on TBS.
Since regaining the TNT Championship, Darby Allin has kept up a feverish pace, but will it come back to bite him?
Oh, it's horrible, dude. Every year it happened to me last January for like 3 weeks. Luckily, this was, only about 5 days. But then the shitty thing is I missed the games over the weekend. I was so not feeling good that I didn't even do any of the games on Saturday or Sunday, which I did Monday with the Bucks or whatever. But even doing that game, I knew the Bucks were going to lose. But even doing that game, I wasn't 100%. I was like getting there. But it just sucks when you have games that, you could have gotten some views and subs and some possible donos that got left on the table and whatnot. But I mean, your mental health is more important. I have to look for my long term since I'm recording, or the goal is to record almost every day. Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I think that's true too. And it's like keeping yourself busy, but also too, it's like if I do a stream, I think sometimes it's like if I'm doing like a game, I have to prep for an hour and a half. So normally like a 3 to 4 hour stream in reality with everything involved, it's like 5 hours. Or if you're doing an 8-hour stream, it ends up being like 10 because you have to look at the prep time and then recording and streaming after the event is over for another 30 minutes to an hour and a half. So just knowing that you're going to be sitting in a chair, and if you're mentally not in it, if my heart is not in it, my head's not in it, I can't just like fake it and act like, everything is okay. Just like, oh, I need to make money and I need to try to, grow. Even if I feel like shit, I'm going to record, I can't do it. I mean, I wish I could fake it like some people do, but I mean, some things are more important than money. So. Yeah. But the seasonal depression thing, it's real. Like, because I don't get it in spring or summer, and I don't get it in early fall because we have football and we've been waiting for it for so long. So that shit don't really affect me in like September, October. You have Halloween, you have Thanksgiving, you have Christmas, but then after Christmas ends and New Year's, it's always like that January, February. That's when it happens to me. And then other than that, maybe one, time in summer, fall, or spring, summer, fall, maybe somewhere in there something comes up. But I mean, it'd just be nice if it lasted like a day or two. But oh yeah, I mean, some people are really good actors and stuff, but yeah. And like I said, I just try to be, myself all time. So if I'm good, you'll know it. If I'm bad, you'll know it. If I'm not here, then obviously that means, something mentally is, I'm not in a good spot. So, but it just sucked because I hate missing, important stuff that actually 9 times out of 10, I mean, I'm never missing that, playoff NFL game or baseball or NASCAR or like the big stuff. Like there's no, and obviously you want to do the playoff stuff, but gosh, it was just so tough. So tough. But and I'm still trying to do the right things, exercise and spend time with Paisley. So I'm trying to, do those things to, put myself in a better position to win. Because it's like when I sit there and I'm just in the dark and I'm watching TV and reruns and I'm watching shows, you make yourself go crazy like that and stuff. So, but also too, the dispensary, I need to be able to use that to my advantage. And if that means, getting a few more pre-rolls than normal, and instead of doing just like the gummies, and I get that. And if that's going to make a difference, I'm going to buy them. And so I've started to buy some, and, I'll go on a walk with Paisley and bring one with me sometimes. And yeah, I mean, I listen to music, and I mean, that shit really helps a lot. So, and I'm not drinking anymore. So it's not like, I don't know. It's not like I feel that I don't really have a feel to do that, but yeah, but it's just nice to be able to, have something to relax you and just, but at least I feel good like going into this weekend and just taking it day by day that, should be able to do both games on both days. So yeah, I appreciate that. It's tough. It's not fun. You know what I mean? But at least I know who I am and I'm okay with who I am. And I know what it's going to take for me to climb out of the hole. And sometimes it just takes a little bit longer, right? You don't want to be in the ditch forever, but sometimes it feels like you're going to be in there for a while. But ultimately you got to get yourself out of there. No one's going to get you out of the ditch. You got to, so at some point, I need to be Hulk Hogan. And then depression, anxiety is Kurt Angle. But last week, I was Kurt Angle, and depression, anxiety was Hulk Hogan. So, all right. So, I don't really assume that we're gonna have anybody else really come through. Do we want to just end it here at the 3-hour 30 mark and just give ourselves the L and then just hope tomorrow ends up being a little bit better with a turnout, or do you want to go for another 33 and then end it off there? I mean, at this point, it's been such a kind of a lower turnout and everything. Maybe we should just take our losses and just, of course, there's always a possibility that someone comes in the last, 30 minutes. But typically, if we're going to go, 4 to 5 hours, if someone was going to come through other than not JT, they probably would have already been in here by now. So maybe we just call it a day. And then I'm really open to both spots, but I still got to go to the store. And even though I already went, I think I might go back. And then if I don't do that, then I'll go for maybe another walk with Paisley or something. So what are we thinking? We thinking should we just end it here in like 2 minutes and just call it a day, and then we'll just bounce back tomorrow and we'll go from there. We still got Thursday, we got Friday, and we got the games. But if I have to end up doing like an actual game, like an NBA game, yeah, it happens. You're not going to have a W every day, but if it takes for me maybe doing like a game, trying to see, let's look at like Thursday and Friday. Warriors Celtics at 4:30, and then there's Sixers Blazers on Thursday, so that's something. So, and then what? And let's see it Friday. Grizzlies Lakers at 7. Heat Mavericks. I don't know.
What damage was done to that shoulder? If in fact the next open challenge, he doesn't favor the shoulder again.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. I mean, like I said, I have a hard time getting anybody, no matter what I do. I could do anything, you know. So, but I mean, I heard that NordCam, they were saying with Megan, like someone hacked his channel and deleted his channel altogether. So they only have a couple YouTube channels for Seahawk people that I've seen. You know, you got the Hawk's Nest and NordCam, and there's probably a couple other smaller ones or whatever. But I feel I have just as much as information as them or more about Seahawks and Seahawk history. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, everything is a calculated risk for me. You know, so because like if I'm going to spend 3 or 4 hours of my time doing a game, right, and if we're not gaining subs or views or donos, then it's like a waste of time. Like I have to be able to do, you know, that's why I don't do every Tampa Bay game, because I'm smart. Because if I did every Tampa Bay game this year or last year, the year before, we're not going to get a very good turnout because not a lot of people give a shit about Tampa Bay. You know what I mean? Like I get it. You know, you can get some Tampa Bay fans, but you know, they don't really have a big presence on YouTube, Tampa Bay fans. So, you know, sometimes you have to know yourself and know the market. So it's like if I, you know, would have done every Tampa Bay game, a lot of those games that I would have done, we would have hit probably a very small amount on the dono mark, you know, and then instead of doing that, maybe I ended up doing like a Chief game or an Eagle game. Sometimes you got to cater to the audience, you know, on what they want. I wouldn't mind, you know, doing, you know, Seattle games, but a lot of these Seattle fans are, you know, they want to be a part of a Seattle channel specifically. You know what I mean? I know I could, you know, because I can call any game on anything, but I mean, a lot of these Seattle people, they don't sub to a channel like me, or if they do, you know, they already have their primary channel where they, you know, watch games at or whatever. But yeah, I mean, if I knew that I would be able to get a good turnout and we'd be able to grow and there would be a good shot to be able to get to a good number, I'm always willing to try things. You know what I mean? I'm always willing to try, but again, you know, it all depends if YouTube is willing to give the recommendation and give the notifications. And if they're not, it's really hard for you to grow. Like when we end up, you know, having YouTube help and we can get like 100 to 150 in the room. You know, we've only had that happen to us a couple times, but every time it happens for about 100 to 150 people where we like get recommended and we get people coming in. Like we had 7,400 people with the Orange Bowl with like Clemson and Tennessee. And when that 100 to 150 people I had for like an hour or two, and it went from like 150 to like 90 to 50 to 100, like you're going to gain like 30, 40 subs. But if that doesn't happen, because you're not going to get everybody, but if you get that many people, you know, you're probably going to get 30 or 40 subs, right? But if it only happens once or twice a year, it's hard to grow. You need to have that happen like once a week, you know, or once every 2 weeks or at least once a month to give you a chance to grow. And that's, you know, kind of sad that I only really had 2 opportunities like that. You know what I mean? So it shows you with the algorithm, you know, they don't take care of me. They, you know, they're trying to make me quit, you know, or trying to make me get discouraged. So yeah, well, I usually do. If the Hawks are on, you know, I usually will, you know, if they're on Sunday night, Monday night, or Thursday night, then they're getting done. But if I'm doing ones at like, you know, 10 in the morning or 1 o'clock, and I'm doing an hour and a half prep, and I'm not getting, I feel like the proper response based on all my work that I'm doing, you know, because like I said, the last thing that you want to do when you're doing this full time, right, is to put in 4 or 5 hours of work and you're doing it for $10. That's not worth it. You know what I mean? It's like for the time that I'm even doing the prep, that might be the, you know, 10 or $20 with everything, with all the photos, and then having to fully produce the show on the fly. And, you know, I don't know. I feel like the baseball and the NASCAR has a better chance to grow this channel with like baseball fans and NASCAR fans rather than wrestling fans or NBA fans or NFL or college football. It's just some of the markets are saturated, but you also have to find people that will watch you, but also sub, not just watch you from afar or, you know, never take care of the person. So yeah, but again, you know, if I'm going to commit, you know, to something, I have to be able to calculate everything too. So, and I usually do. I'm a numbers guy, so you know, everything is a calculated risk. So, but I appreciate you guys, and let's call it a day. And let's just make sure and make one last check up here to see you don't have anything crazy from somewhere. You just never know sometimes with people. Like I'll just check my different apps and sometimes magically stuff's there. So, but let's just take the L today, and then at least we had JT and not JT come in. Paisley's looking at me, and we'll end up hanging out tomorrow. And again, I don't really know if I have to do. I'll probably end up doing the Blazer game and the Sixers, so that way it's at least a title. So because I know most people they like it when it's a game that I do, and regardless if I go off script, off the game, at least that it's like structured, and so that sometimes will just some people will come just based off me doing the Blazer game or something other than just like a freestyle stream. But the funny thing is when we end up doing the freestyle streams, those are the ones that get the biggest donos, and some of the most craziest streams are the ones that are just like during the week that you wouldn't think that would be a big day, but it ends up turning into a big day. So, well, I appreciate you guys very much. And again, hopefully things will be a little bit better moving forward. Let me get rid of some of these photos here. And let me see, what do I want to end on for a photo? Trying to think, what do I want to end up on? Maybe the Jamar Chase photo. Let's go there. I'm almost done, Paisley. I know we can hang out. You miss Dad? I love you. Love you. We're gonna hang out.
I was made for this. I was made to fight. I'm a big dude, and this is how I feel like what I was meant to do is fight.
All right, there's my Jamar. This one's dope.
And, have fun doing it.
Perfect. All right, Paisley. I appreciate you guys very, very much. And thank you for sticking with me. Like I said, some days are going to be slow. Some days will be more up tempo and fast paced, but still had fun. I mean, like I said, every day is different. You never know what you're going to get. Some days are going to be big and donos. Some are low. Some times you're going to have a lot of people in the room. Sometimes it's a little bit slower, but I appreciate everyone that came through, that donated, shared the channel on Twitter, liked, shared, and did all that on social media. I love you guys and I appreciate you guys. And tomorrow's another day, and I know we'll have a better day tomorrow. And I got one question for you. Who talk sports like us? Your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, and I'm out. Gang.